And welcome back to Mixed Media. We're live again for another happy Monday full of hot takes and good topics about anything pretty much art related, which is what we do on the podcast, whether it's philosophy, business, current events, reviews, gaming, music, movies, pretty much anything art related we love to talk about on the show, and we'd love to have you participate, which is why this is a live show. So if you're in the chat, you gotta holla at us during the show, and we're going to be definitely responding to your hot takes, or whatever you have to say, as the show progresses, which is the beauty of a live podcast. But before we do a little housekeeping, we should introduce ourselves. So my name is Irving Nestor. I'm a filmmaker and media entrepreneur based out of Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania. I own a company called Ariella. Oh no, I have you muted. Hold on. Oh, there you go. Go again.
Hello, my name is Nathan Nestor. I'm a 3D modeler and video game developer.
Yeah. I hope there's no technical difficulties, as there was at some point. I think it was last week. We had terrible technical difficulties at the beginning. I forgot to turn off my upload because it's still going from last week, because I'm uploading 12 terabytes to Dropbox, and that's a very slow process.
This is from actually 2 weeks ago, right? Wasn't this 2 weeks ago?
Oh yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. You're right. Oh, but I ran out of space on Dropbox on the free trial, so I ended up purchasing the unlimited, actually. Which gives me unlimited. So
okay.
There's like a few days of stall. Maybe like 4 days of stall. So it still takes a long time. Let's see. But I see some people. Hello, people. Please drop a thumbs up or something to let me know that you're there. Love to say hello to everybody. Yeah, it looks like everything's working just fine.
Is our chat? I don't think our chat's on the screen.
Oh, you're right. Yes. Let me reconnect the chat. While I'm doing that, shout out to 4 awesome people. That's Rob Sharma, 909 Crime, and K Kairos, and Post. 4 awesome people support us for $5 a month at mixedmedia.locals.com. There's some extra content on there and some other awesome stuff, so please head over to mixedmedia.locals.com. It really helps us to put on this show without having to dip into our pockets. And if we could just get a few more supporters, we could start reinvesting back into the podcast. We're like at that stage where we really need that in order to get people watching, in order to get the content out in a better form and all this kind of stuff. We're in need of a big buff. And if you were to help us with $5 a month, we'd be super appreciative. You get access also to a secret Discord group and some other stuff. If you go to mixedmedia.locals.com, you'll see all the perks on there. I'm still pulling up the chat, but how was your week, Nathan?
It was all right. Today was my first day interning this summer. It's also my first 40-hour-a-week job, and that's kind of interesting, I guess. So.
Oh, well, so how was it?
Yeah. I mean, it was.
I can tell.
I mean, the first day was like onboarding, so it was nothing really interesting happened. But like, man, 8 hours plus 2 hours commute is.
The commute is the killing part, is it not?
So yeah, I listened to like a podcast. I listened to some music on my way there and a podcast on my way back. But like, I could use that at home. It's not like like I don't know.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, yeah, this cannot. I mean, in the future, I mean, this is fine for the summer.
Yeah.
But in the future, I don't think I'm, consider myself doing this for decades. That's kind of wild. I don't know about that. So
that office cubicle life. Yeah, no. For those out there, he's working the same job that I worked. Well, I don't know about the same project, obviously, but the same.
I'm an intern too, so in theory, my workload's probably a lot lower and stuff.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you are an intern, but he's working at the company, or he's interning at the company that I used to work for, and literally that company has. There's nothing wrong with anybody there. It's really nice people. really helpful people too if you can catch them when they're not busy, and very patient, and the work is fine. You're doing something. But like for me, like it's just a slog. It's just like like there's literally nothing wrong with this company. It's just me. That's how I felt when I was there. So yeah, then I just had to eject. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you didn't get a paycheck yet, right?
No, not yet.
Okay, paychecks make everything feel a lot better, though. I will say that.
I guess I don't. I mean, I guess it's good to save. I don't really spend money, like so. I was considering.
You're buying a freedom.
Yeah, I don't know. That's something I should do. I'm considering starting a CD collection of music. Right. It's like the reason. So like one of the reasons I was like I don't like using streaming services because they pay their artists 2 cents, right? So it's like supporting the people I like to want to support. Mm-hmm. That being said, I not intentionally at all. I kind of only listen to already pretty established artists who are making all their money from concerts anyways. So I mean that's they're not really hoping that
what I'm saying, those backpack CDs.
I don't know. Actually, it's not true. I do listen to random. Okay. The small artists I listen to are Japanese, and dude, the shipping costs are crazy on some of these things. Because for some reason, a lot of the international shipping, they don't offer options. So they'll be like, "Oh yeah, you're getting the express shipping, no matter what," which is crazy expensive from across the Pacific Ocean and across half the country as well, or the entire country, really, actually. So, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's also I feel actually own the thing, right? Owning a thing is nice, right?
Yeah.
But then it's then I think about the cost of not doing that. It's so much cheaper.
You know what? That's too good of a segue. I'm not going to talk about my week first. I'll talk about my first bit of news, which has to do with I actually posted in the Discord earlier today. But there's a British physical media company, Blu-ray company, that went under, unfortunately, called Network. I've never heard of them until they went under, unfortunately. But the Blu-ray industry is struggling right now a lot. Is there a weird noise? Oh, it's back to that weird noise time where random weird noise has happened. This hasn't happened in a long time.
I feel like you hear a little bit of white noise when you talk in the background, just a little bit. I'm not sure if that's a normal amount or I feel like it's. And are you on the right microphone?
I think so. I hope so.
I think you sound. I feel like you sound good. It's just the.
Yeah, I mean you're not hearing the broadcast audio. You're hearing direct from mic audio.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, in either case, just let me know if there are any audio issues in the chat. I'm not sure if what I'm hearing you guys can hear as well. But man, it's come back. It's really annoying. What is that? Oh, it looks like it's coming from you, actually. This has happened before.
Muted, so I mean, I don't know.
Wait, hit the mute button again. Maybe it's the mute button.
I'm muting.
No. Okay, never mind. That was a small idea.
I don't know.
Okay, weirdness. But yeah, Network went down, unfortunately, and they went down suddenly, as often happens with bankruptcies. It kind of just happens overnight. Well, I mean, not to the executives. The executives probably knew for a while that they were in trouble, but to everybody else, it's just kind of flop. Which is sad. We are going through, I've talked about this so many times on the podcast that if you haven't heard this already, you are absolutely new. But the economy is very doo-doo. It's very bad. Especially if you're in Europe, you're about to get crushed. Unfortunately, to all of the European friends out there, you are the first to die. And
is it okay? Obviously that's not good, right? But how might Europeans or otherwise be able to take advantage of this moment?
Honestly, we're almost to the point where if you haven't made moves already, I don't know. You're on Here's what it is. You know, the last thing that you could possibly do in the situation that we're in is save money. But saving money is like the least efficient. Like, you know, it's fine. Saving money is good.
Oh, I was wondering. I assume the answer is no, but like just out of curiosity, if I'm gonna collect seeds, I was wondering. I wonder if these things are like inflation resistant. I don't think so, but I was like, that'd be nice. That'd be the final selling point. Like, I'll do it.
You see, when it comes to like physical media and art, I would say that they retain some value, but I wouldn't collect them for that purpose. You know, for the retained value. Like, it wouldn't be like collecting watches, right? Like that's a very different, you know, type of retained value.
There are some things though that like are like, so this is like not just collecting in general. It's like very specific. But like you can, you know, get like rare CDs, you know, or like you can like speculate on CDs or something. I guess
you could do that. Yeah, you could do like rare physical media. And honestly, like, you know, with stuff like Blu-ray companies coming down, some of these Blu-rays are legit going to become rare. Actually.
That's true.
And here's the thing that people still don't understand about physical media versus streaming versus old physical media. Blu-rays are literally nicer than anything else. Like visually, you will not... If I put them side by side, your streaming service and a Blu-ray, the streaming service might even be streaming at 4K because of that gimmick. And the Blu-ray is at 1080p. You will not go back to the 4K image if you looked at them side by side. It just the Blu-ray looks so much nicer because the bit rate is so high per frame, right?
Have you seen the new YouTube enhanced bitrate thing?
I've seen the option at once, literally today. I think I was like, "What the heck is that?" And then I didn't click on it. I didn't know what it was because it said premium. I was like, "Are you gonna make me pay for that?" I don't know.
I don't know if maybe there's a preview of it. I haven't seen it. I'm sure it still works in Blu-ray. Like, I think it just has to be, but I'm not sure how good it is. I also have not clicked on it, but maybe it's like a preview or something.
Well, what I've been saying for a long time, and maybe they're finally doing it, which kind of annoys me because I don't want them to do it because I want them to die, is give viewers the option to pay for better quality stuff. Like, I actually support that like concept.
This channel doesn't. Does it depend on the channel? Does it enable it? Because this channel has like up to 1440p, but there's no. I think it's 1080p enhanced bitrate. They don't have that option on this video.
Yeah, I don't know. But you know, honestly, the cost should be shared by both the creator and the consumer. But you know, we'll never get there because freemium will always be until the monopolies go away. The issue of over leverage will always support these companies. How do these companies continue to over leverage themselves? By being backstopped by banks that are too big to fail. So ultimately, you, the taxpayer, guarantee infinite loans to Google. It's a concept I don't think I've expounded upon, you know, specifically on mixed media, but I probably will talk about it in the future. But like conceptually, the only reason why freemium can exist the way it does is because infinite loan schemes, literally, you know, think like just pyramid scheme. You know, there just needs to be a greater fool that comes after the last, you know, to throw money at the thing. And infinite money schemes going through like JP Morgan, you know, which is the biggest bank in the entire world, you know, or any other bank of that caliber. And at the end of the day, those banks are literally, legally too big to fail, which means that those loans will always be funded. Does that make sense? So, so you, taxpayer, you guarantee that Google can get loans forever. So just process that for a moment. But yeah, you know, I'm physical media is dying because of freemium. Freemium will kill the mediums. This is the part of the process that people don't understand. We are already seeing it with movies. What happens? And I'm actually going to be reacting to something on Arguing with Reddit that kind of goes into this, so I won't go into too much detail. But what happens is, and we've talked about this before, the streaming service cannot make money literally doing something pennies on the dollar that of what was done before. It makes no sense. There's no mathematical sense in doing what Netflix does, right? The expense is way too high. The gain is way too low. And they literally cannot capture all humans in the entire Earth, even though they want you to believe that. And then so what ends up happening is they struggle bus, and they have to give people at least one reason to stay on board so that they can continue their infinite debt scheme, right? The greater fool needs to be you tomorrow when you continue to buy into Netflix. As long as you keep buying into it, they can keep borrowing money because their cash flow is still, something. The bank is not going to deny them because on paper, they're cash flowing something, right? So what will end up happening is they create cheap art because it's cheaper. They have to do it in order to float their platform. You consume the cheap art. You're happy for about, 4-5 years. Then you start to get annoyed because nothing's good on the platform. They start kicking off anything that was classic because they have to pay rights to those, so they're only doing in-house stuff. And then, when you're sufficiently annoyed, you will stop watching it. Stop paying for it. But by that time, they will have pivoted to the next art form, because they actually didn't care about the art form to begin with. So they'll go to gaming instead. And movies, as a culture, will just die. And then they'll just repeat the process with gaming. You see what I'm saying? Like, they are literally cannibalizing art forms with their parasitic models. It's not even about paying the creators. They literally can't even pay themselves. That's the truth of it, But we've gone over that ad nauseum on the podcast, and we're going to go over it in detail later from the mouth of Tom Hanks. So stay tuned for that. So there you go.
I saw some stuff about that. Oh, I didn't see. Sorry, I mean, like, I saw that was happening, but I didn't really know much about it or why it was happening or anything like that. But
Yeah. In terms of my week, though, I took a mini vacation, 3-day vacation, which actually felt really nice because I work I work all the time basically, and it's nice to take a break. Came back, went back to work, felt really rejuvenated. And what else has been going on? Oh, really random thing. Really random thing. I'm actually starting a Give Send Go, which is basically like a GoFundMe, except not as crazy. I'm starting a Give Send Go. It's not up yet, but stay tuned if you're interested. Hit me up in some way, Discord, whatever. And I'll send you the link to the Give Send Go. Or you could just search on Give Send Go eventually Dealey Plaza. Or you could do Give Send Go / Dealey Plaza. Do you know what Dealey Plaza is, Nathan?
I assume that's where the property you're trying to buy is my guess.
No.
Oh, I don't know. Plaza, I don't know. Well, you said it's called what? Dealey Plaza?
Yeah.
Dealey Plaza.
This is a history question.
That doesn't even ring a bell. I feel like I just don't know.
Wow. Okay. Well, if you're in the chat,
I'm just topic, like a I don't know.
History. I can give you the era, I guess. Sure. Cold War.
Dealey Plaza,
which is a large era, so.
Yeah, that narrows the things you learn in history down. You know what I'm saying? Would I have learned it in school, or is this
you would have learned it in school, 100%.
Dealey Plaza.
There's not a single person who does not learn the topic that surrounds Dealey Plaza in school.
Oh, is it the Cuban Missile Crisis? That's the topic.
No, but you're you've gotten a lot warmer,
is it the arms race?
No.
Oh man,
it's a location. It sounds American, right? Dealey Plaza.
It does. Wait, is it not? It is American?
Yes.
What? Is it Is it in Florida?
No.
Wait. Wow. Wait, give me the state. Can I have the state?
Texas.
Is there is there a weapons testing site or something like that?
Nope, not even close. You were way closer when you mentioned Cuban Missile
Cuban
Crisis,
Missile?
but not because of the
Really?
missiles.
Because the Cubans?
I mean, I guess that is closer in a sense, but not really. Well, who was involved in the Cuban Missile Crisis?
United States and Soviet Union?
Okay, but who was the actual like people?
The people?
Well, particularly the American, because we're talking about American place. Who was negotiating on the Cuban Missile Crisis?
JFK?
Yes,
Okay.
Dealey Plaza.
Is that where he died?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh.
I do not remember that.
I don't know if I ever learned that, honestly. I don't know.
What?
That still does not ring a bell.
That's crazy. Okay, well, anyway.
Dealey Plaza? I didn't spell that.
Let me know in
Honestly.
the chat if you've heard of Dealey Plaza or not. But, no, Dealey Plaza is the location where JFK was assassinated. I'm doing a Give, Send, Go campaign. I see some people filtering out on Rumble, and I hope you guys will be interested in this. But I'm doing a Give, Send, Go campaign because I recently found out that Dealey Plaza is being revamped. When I say revamped, it's being reinvented, is the words that they're using. What that means is they're changing the physical makeup of the space. Now, I don't want to sound alarmist, because I'm not. Like, when you look at the renderings of the way they're changing the space, it's not like they're bulldozing, like, all of Dealey Plaza, they're bulldozing Elm Street or something and just removing it entirely, or they're, it doesn't look like they're removing the grassy knoll, in their renders, right? The problem, though, is that you can't trust that. Plus, the way the space functions and feels changes the intuition about those who study that space entirely. In short, I am very suspect of this project to change Dealey Plaza. It's not official yet. I mean, the plans haven't been approved yet, and there's a lot of groups that are protesting this because there's a lot of work to be done still on the JFK assassination research front. Of which every academic I possibly know of. I mean, I would challenge you to come up with a university researcher who believes the Warren Report as Wikipedia seems to believe. Literally, there's not a single, no matter where you are in the spectrum, there's not a single academic who's not considered a nut job who believes the Warren Report like Wikipedia, just kind of repeats. And this is just how academia has evolved over time. And if you know the facts of the case, you know how obvious it is. But in any case, the changing of Dealey Plaza is a big deal because I think a lot of people have in mind that we have so many pictures of Dealey Plaza over the years that we could just do whatever historical analysis that we want to do via the photos. And I think this is a very silly idea. It's actually more dangerous than that because for example, there's a researcher that I do follow, JFK researcher, who went to Dealey Plaza and had a more intuitive understanding of the distances of locations. Like, yeah, you read on a piece of paper, like, oh, that was like 5 feet away, right? Like, and you're like, okay, 5 feet away. But what does it like feel like to be there and, imagine the crowd, imagine the motorcade, imagine the Texas School Depository, the building across from it, the grassy knoll, the railroad tracks, the 3 streets. Like, how do you spatially put yourself there without the space, right? And how do you take new measurements? How do you sift through the photos to find the exact angle that you need of the way that Dealey Plaza... I mean, this is adding work, right? And it's adding inference and adding guesswork to the whole study of the assassination of JFK. So what I want to do, and this is kind of random saying this on this channel, but if you're interested, just go to Give, Send, Go and search Dealey Plaza. It's not up yet, but it will be up eventually. But what I want to do is I want to scan the space in 3D. I do this already for my real estate tours. I do this for whatchamacallit, for realtors. So what I do is I take a 360 camera. I don't have one in front of me right now. Oh, actually, I can grab it really easily. There we are. So I take this guy, which is a 360 camera. See, there's 2 lenses on there. And, you know, I have this, like, really fancy selfie stick, essentially, but it's, like, really beefy and expensive. And I take this and I plop it around a space, and it creates a point cloud, you know, based off of the photos that it's taking. The process is called photogrammetry. And then it goes into a software called Matterport and renders out a 3D space. So if you've ever gone to Zillow or whatever and you looked at the houses on there and you could 3D tour them, that's what I create with these cameras. It's possible to do this outdoors, not with this camera because it doesn't have an essential feature called LiDAR, which allows you to measure distances via a laser instead of via photos. So it does both. It takes photos and it does LiDAR. I would like to scan the entirety of Dealey Plaza and donate my time to do that so that that space is forever ensconced, you know, digitally, and can be distributed and used. It can be used in documentaries. I want to give it away for free. Right, so you can make renderings from it. You know, you could drop it into Blender. You know, you can, you know, take measurements in the Matterport app if you need to, angle measurements, all that kind of stuff.
Like, can't you already do this with like photos? And I don't know how it works. Like, I remember when I used to do 3D modeling a lot more. There's this tool called it's called like F something. I don't remember, but essentially it's a tool to let you, you know, get like measurements and stuff like that of like just photos you have, right? Mm-hmm. And it uses vanishing points. That's what it does. It uses vanishing points to like you just like do some like you like line up, you know, like straight edges that are parallel with each other, right? Mm-hmm. And then from that you can get like, you know, like the geometry of the rest of the scene, right? Mm-hmm. Would that not be possible for like just, you know, using random images of Dealey Plaza?
Yeah, but the problem is the level of precision. So what I think you're proposing would require tons of like random cell phone pictures of varying quality, and then the stitched together image, because we don't want just the spatial information, like just to have a 3D model of it. We also want to get the color information as well, the like image information as well. So splicing that all together, I don't think would make for a very good end resulting product. And then on top of that, I think it would be tons of data crunching. I'm not even sure that you could guarantee. You'd have to look to make sure you get every single possible angle. You know, the underpass, you know, like weird angles that like don't get photographed very often because they're not, you know, interesting in and of themselves. So you'd have to go like hunting for that. Like, how do you even hunt for that angle? Like, how do you find that angle online? You know, you'd have to like really hunt for it, which, you know, complicates the whole thing. So this process will make it so that we're taking one in the span of like 3 days, because it takes a while to do these scans. And Dealey Plaza is rather large. I would like to get as much of Dealey Plaza as I possibly can, including the surrounding buildings, the surrounding blocks, and everything like that. By the way, no one has done this already, which is kind of crazy to me, because people take Matterport scans of like all kinds of like random places in like important places in cities, and like I like tried my best to find one because I just presumed that someone had already made one of Dealey Plaza, you know, such an important space. No one had. So I was just like, okay, well, I have the skills to do it. There's actually not that many people who do Matterport scans as much as you'd think. So the likelihood that someone else would be willing to do it is actually pretty low. So I was just like, okay, I'll do it, and I'll eat the time cost, but I can't eat the material cost because it's just, you know, I have, you know, to make a living, you know, I can't just, you know, exit $2,500 out of my pocket without feeling that hit pretty hard. Plus, not work for a week. That's kind of rough. So. So I'm willing to not work for a week, but I have a Give Send Go the goal is simply $2,500, very low, and I'll be live streaming the entire scanning process as in Dealey Plaza with a 360 live stream, which is going to be pretty cool. I'm trying to do that in November, so if you don't see the Dealey Plaza link right now, whenever you're watching this, you can go hit up give send go / Dealey Plaza later on at some point, probably by the end of tomorrow. Even it'll be up already there, and every $5, $10 is really appreciated. I'm really not asking for much. $2,500, and I'll donate my time to Scanning Dealey Plaza. So that's it. That's the plane tickets, the rental car, the food, and I did everything as cheapo as possible when I did out the numbers. So if I ever end up going over, it'll just be on me. I'll just expense the rest myself. So there it is, $2,500 to archive history. That's my pitch.
Nice.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, that was our long. Or well, actually, was there any more news? Was there news on the gaming front?
Yeah, I guess so. GTA 5, after like over a decade of existing or whatever, has finally added a button to hold on console to sprint, because before you had to mash, I think, A.
Oh yeah, I forgot
on
about
Xbox controller. Yeah, I don't really know why that was like a choice, like an option. Like I don't know how
make you feel like you're running, man.
I don't know. Why is it that the only thing that make you feel like you're doing? Like they don't make you like climb by spamming the button either. It's just running.
Yeah.
So yeah, they finally like, okay, after all these years, like why not now? So they did that. Well, that hasn't come out yet, I don't think. But it will come out sometime in the future. And also, the Lord of the Rings Gollum came out. Is that how you pronounce his name? Right? It's a Gollum, right? Not Golem. It's Gollum.
I don't know Lord of the Rings stuff very well. Sorry, fans.
Actually, that's funny. That was mentioned in the Discord server recently. But Lord of the Rings Gollum came out, and it has horrible reviews. 39 on Metacritic, 2.5 user score. And I don't really know what the issue is. I haven't looked into it, but it's just kind of like I was just taken aback by how negative the reviews were. Even the positive reviews here are all like satirical, so they should really have less than 2.5, I guess. But yeah, by the way, I
gotta interrupt you for a moment, because we have someone in the Rumble chat, which I know there's a lot of people who watch on Rumble, but the reason why this is important, because none of y'all talk. Unfortunately, his name I have to censor because a little. Well, this is a family-friendly show. Nothing against your name being your name, but P******is says.
Okay.
You're doing great, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Please hit that Rumble button and follow if you want to see more of the show. I don't know how long you've been around, but thank you. Go ahead, Nathan. Sorry. That was the thing. Yeah, Gollum. Bad reviews. But yeah, I was going to say, we see a discrepancy in is between critic scores and user scores, right? Or user scores being non-critic scores. So we have a 39 out of 100, so I guess a 3.9 for critics, and then a 2.5 for users. And I watched a pretty interesting video recently on why there's such a discrepancy between critic and non-critic ratings, and it tends towards critics having a higher review. And of course, things like music that critics might have a more refined palette for games and stuff like that, and they're more, they have different, it's kind of like movie reviews, right? They're not going to be the same type of person, as like the average random Joe watching a movie, right? They might have different takes on average because of that, right? But something that was brought up is that because consider reviewing like a movie is 2 hours, or a music album is like 45 minutes or something like that, right? But reviewing a game, depending on the game, could be like dozens. If you want to finish it, it could be dozens of hours, right? Yeah.
The issue is that they don't have dozens of hours to play the game. So what they'll do is apparently they'll do things to make it go quicker, such as going out using the easiest difficulty and things like that, and even enabling cheats if the game supports it and stuff like that. And then playing just the first part of the game, and then they're just all right, that's all I got. You know what I'm saying? So they really only have a taste, a first impression. So certain things like let's say your game has really nice graphics, they might weigh more for a critic because they just hop in and they're like, oh, I've been treated to this nice cinematic, and for them it's like 50% of the game. It's been that cinematic,
I don't like that.
It's not good.
I don't like that at all.
I do find there are So I never like I don't know if, like I feel like I read maybe like two IGN reviews in my life. I know it's like the big like reviewer like big like large reviewer, right? I don't know, I never like I just never was drawn to them. I guess I don't know. But there's a channel I used to watch called Game Ranks, and it has like a before you buy series. And I feel like they always got in depth enough where it always felt like they actually played the game for like more a little bit. And I feel like they would like oftentimes mention like the middle and the end of the game was like X and Y or whatever, so like they actually got the whole thing. Maybe they kind of speed ran it. I don't know. Maybe they put on the easiest difficulty. I don't really know, but at least I felt like they got somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm curious to see
what's the audience that would want to view this product, like
what IGN review or
yeah, what? Half baked product.
I mean, well, the thing is, they don't sell it like that, right? they don't they don't say, by the way, it's a half baked review. It's like
But like, do people? But people generally know now, right? That's how.
Oh, I didn't know that until I watched that video. I was like, oh,
okay,
interesting. I guess that kind of makes. I mean, it doesn't make sense. It makes sense in some sense. I could believe it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Nice.
Oh, also, I mentioned this Discord server, but there's a video game that I've been following called Doors, and if you ever, let's say, I don't know what to say this. It's kind of brutal. Let's say you've ever had a childhood, but you don't, it's not something you need to have known to have had a childhood. It's not even like mainstream. It's mainstream kind of, but not like in a average Joe knows this. But yeah. There are these stick figure fighting animations that like were really popular. They were like Flash animations that are really popular.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Back in the day, I don't know how many years it was, but it was a long time ago. Yeah. And one of the probably the biggest channel that did those was called Hyun's Dojo, and it was like a collaborative effort of people led by Hyun, who created all these animations like that. These stick figure, all of them were fighting animations. There's also a series called Doors. I think there's 5 of them. Doors there's no fighting in Doors. It's just like an artistic expression of like a character going from one door to the other door on the other side of the map. And it's just like it's just different characters traversing different ways and have different almost like personalities. And you should watch it yourself. It'd be a lot more easy to see what I'm talking about. But they decided, hey, let's make a game called Doors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And okay. Look, I had this great idea to make a stick figure fighting game. And I was like, wait, this is like a perfect collaboration with Hyun's Dojo. I could use a lot of IP from people in Hyun's Dojo, obviously with their permission. But you can be like, hey, I got like Turquoise, who made the Shock series. I got Turquoise to have his character in the game, right? That's kind of crazy, right? Don't you want to play like Shock but like in game form, right, or whatever, right? But I got beaten to it. It's not the same game, but they do have official, Hyun's Dojo support. So, but yeah, called Doors, and it had a Kickstarter. Kickstarter was very successful. I remember I doubted it. I was like, there's no way. And then I checked I checked their Discord server. I was like, wait, there's a lot of people here. I was like, never mind, there's a way. So their goal was $40,000, and they got $45,000. I'm pretty sure they actually like blasted through that. I'm pretty sure like the tail end was really slow, but they kind of blasted through the initial thing. That's kind of crazy when you have a whole channel and a YouTube channel and the whole community people. That's what happens. But anyways, Doors was it was going. They released like essentially a kind of like an alpha version. Like it's like there's not really a game here, but it's like almost like a tech demo. It's like, hey, look what we've got going on so far. They released that. They called it prototype demo is what they called it, as like almost like a proof of concept, and it worked, right? And it was really cool. But then the team is small, right? At least like the main people I know are there's Sean Pluto, who's like the artist, and then there's Shuri, who's the programmer, and Shuri lives in Ukraine, and the issue was that the war was like messing with him, right? Everyone's like, it's kind of okay, and then it's like, oh wait, he has no electricity sometimes. It's like, oh, that's kind of not okay.
Yeah.
But he kept working on it, and now it's like there are like missiles like around him, in places. So it's like kind of like, he stopped development on that. And I remember thinking like, this is really interesting. This is really interesting. A long time ago, I had a discussion about whether it's a good thing to be a irreplaceable person in a team. Because the thing about him is apparently he has like a very very in-depth knowledge of Adobe Flash. So because the game uses Flash, which is crazy in 2019. But the whole community still uses Flash to create their animations. Flash is like the main tool. So. So I haven't had a discussion like, is it good or bad for you irreplaceable? Because on one hand, it means you're really good at what you're doing. It means you have a secure position. On the other hand, if you can't do what you're doing, then you're like the project is done. So, anyways, they moved on to decided, hey, we're gonna make a smaller scale game called Stick Figures. It's going to be a platform fighter like Super Smash Bros. With all this Stick Figures IP and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. And that's what's going on now. But it's kind of a sad situation, but that's what's going on. And I'm glad that they didn't just kind of take the money and be like, well, I can't really do much about that. It shows a lot of dedication that they still decided that they would go through and create something, even if it's not the original thing. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, this is not even. I'm not even interested in a fighter game. I want to play Doors. Whatever. But I commend them for doing something rather than nothing. So
cool. Nice. Well, is that it for news?
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, we're going to go on to our gaming segment now, where Nathan will be breaking down Paladins. And thank you so much for watching in this segment. If you don't know, we release these in parts. So we're going to transition over to our next part right now. Hopefully stick along. After that, we'll be arguing with Reddit. And here we go.
Mixed Media Gaming.
Hello, and welcome to the gaming segment of the Mixed Media Podcast. I'll be reviewing the game Paladins, and you might be saying, Paladins in 2023? Yes, Paladins in 2023. The reason why I'm reviewing this game so late is because, well, I talked about before about how, unlike movies and music for the most part, video games evolve over time. And so, it's nice to, you have tons of reviews of Paladins at the start of its creation and a bunch of different games at the start of their creation. But I think I actually kind of want to review games that are, like, matured already, because I feel like a lot of times they don't get as much coverage anymore. Like, if you look at Paladins on YouTube, you'll find the videos from recently. No one's reviewing it though. It's like just playing as this character or whatever. No one's doing any kind of review this late into the game, so I think I'll do the job. I'll let you guys know what's going on. Any changes that have happened that are interesting, and what the current state of it is now, because games evolve and it might be better or worse than it was originally. And you also might be saying, Paladins. Isn't that just like Overwatch but worse? Stop comparing. That's all I'll say. It really I actually thought they were very similar until I played them both, and I was like, wait, these are actually like way different experiences. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. But you gotta stick around for that. So, what is Paladins? Have you heard of Paladins, Irving?
Yes, I feel like I played it with you.
Oh, maybe
once, and I sucked really bad.
That's possible.
Like a long time ago. So
yeah, it's possible.
Yeah,
Paladins is a fairly old game. So the history is Paladins is created by Hi-Rez. Now, if you go to like Wikipedia, it'll say like Hi-Rez is like the publisher. I think you'll see that on Steam too, probably. Hi-Rez is the publisher, the developer. The developer is Evil Mojo Games, but note that Evil Mojo Games came off of Hi-Rez. So Hi-Rez originally developed it, and then they created a standalone development studio that just develops Paladins now. So, originally developed by Hi-Rez and essentially is still developed by Hi-Rez, but under new management. Oh, same management, new name, I guess. The game came out in closed beta in 2015, I believe, and in 2016 it came out in open beta. Now, if you know anything about Overwatch, you know that that's when Overwatch came out. And there's a huge thing. It was like, oh, Paladins is copying Overwatch, or Overwatch copying Paladins. Like, these are like, it's a similar thing. And the thing to note is that these games were announced relatively like very close around each other, right? So it's not like they like one could literally be like, oh, like Hi-Res wasn't like, oh, look at what Blizzard is doing with Overwatch, let's make that, or like Blizzard wasn't like, hey, look what Hi-Res is doing with Paladins. They didn't have enough time to make a game in that time, you know. Like the game was already there, you know. It just so happened that that they decided to create a somewhat similar game. Both games are in the hero shooter genre. What I absolutely hate is when people compare them to other hero shooters like Team Fortress 2, and it absolutely boggles my mind. Like, people are like, well, TF2 is a better game, or Overwatch is a better game. It's like, what? I mean, sure. I mean, maybe, you know, but like, this is not like an either or. Like, you can play both because they're so different, you know. That's like, it's such a different experience, but very strange. You know, the hero shooter genre really is as vague as it's a shooter that has like heroes in it. It's not really like, you know, it's a heavily class based type thing.
Would Dirty Bomb count as a hero shooter?
Yes, Dirty Bomb is a hero shooter.
That's very
but
different.
But it's very different, you know. Now I do understand that the hero shooter, you know, kind of comes with some baggage a lot of times, you know, like a lot of genres do. For example, RPG. RPG is a role playing game, but typically they are, you know, like a certain type of way, right? Like you know, people talk about things like what kind of
This is the podcast.
RPG elements, right? Like RPG elements such as I looked it up. I don't know why I couldn't think of these. Like and quests. Oh my gosh, that's so obvious. Questing is such an RPG thing, right? But the role, you don't actually need questing for a role playing game, right? It doesn't actually have to happen. For example, like consider like the campaign of like a shooter. You wouldn't expect it to have quests, and it's technically like it's not really a role. It's kind of a role playing game, but it's not really a role playing game because it doesn't have that baggage with it. You know what I'm saying? So it's not really considered part of that genre. So when people say hero based shooter, they oftentimes mean, you know, like something that's kind of like Dirty. Like I think Dirty Bomb would still fit in the hero based shooter thing, but Dirty Bomb is living on the edge. I feel like, you know. Mm-hmm. I feel like when I hear hero-based shooter, I think of more. I think the thing that really sets like that makes Dirty Bomb feel a lot more like a non-hero-based shooter is the fact that your primary weapons are just all guns, and they're all same. You know what I'm saying? Every character has that sort of basic like 90% of the time you're just gonna be shooting people. Like that's just how, you know, like normal like rifles and stuff like that, you know, it's all kind of the same 90% of the time, you know. Just at 10% of the time you use your abilities, like, oh, that's actually very different, you know, from each other. And then, you know, I mean, there's things like Battlefield, of course, that are kind of like that, where they have 4 classes, but I think that's even further away because it's like you're not like each.
Wait, is that technically a hero-based shooter?
No, it's not. I'm saying it's not. I'm saying I think I would not consider that because well, one's only 4 different classes, right? And typically in hero-based shooter, there's like 90,000 characters, right? Also, there's that thing, right? Is that sort of baggage of like each class/hero is actually a separate person, right? And who might have their own lore or whatever, right? In Battlefield, like there are like 9,000 different like medics or whatever, or assault classes they're called, right? Didn't they change it to medic or something like that at some point? I don't know. Anyways, yeah, they did. Okay, I think around like Battlefield 1 or 5, I think it's changed to medic. But I don't know about 24Q. But yeah, so and there's only 4 of them. Also, and there's no like not as unique. Also, like their abilities, if you want to call them that, are a lot more grounded in reality, even though it's obviously not realistic. But a lot more like, hey, like a med kit is like a thing that exists in real life, I guess. Unlike, I don't know, like a dragon, you might be able to turn into in a hero-based shooter or something like that. And you're even then, like your different abilities aren't like massively impactful on the progression of the game. So like one med kit probably isn't going to win you the game. Probably it could, but probably not, right? Compared to like Dirty Bomb, where like one airstrike might actually be kind of crazy. It might actually do something crazy. And also, there tends to be a lot less players in a hero-based shooter. So in Battlefield, it's kind of the opposite, right? You might have a game of 64 different players, 32v32. Dirty Bomb is like, what? It's like 8v8 or something like that, I think. Or I think
I can't remember.
I think there are different sized matches. I feel like is it 16v16? I don't remember. Or 12v12? Something
I
like
honestly
that,
don't remember.
It's something around the mid range. It's not Battlefield size for sure, and it's not like Paladins is 5. Overwatch is 4, 5. Did they add one? Why do I feel like they added one? I feel like it used to be 4 and they added 5, but I could be wrong. But yeah. Anyways, that was a big tangent on what is and what isn't a hero-based shooter, I guess. But yeah, Paladins, TF2, Overwatch, all fit in that sort of big category, but they were definitely very different. But I would say that the closest two in that category are actually Overwatch and Paladins, even though they're doing pretty different experiences. So, I guess let's actually get into what Paladins is and my review of it. So I'm going to be going pretty off the dome on this one. So I have very little way in the like. If the progression of ideas seems very like wild, it's like, why didn't we start with this? It's like, look, man, I just got off of work. I just got here, so. So yeah, Paladins. I guess I kind of introduced it already, but I guess talking about hero-based shooters gives you the sort of general idea of it, right? So you have currently in the game there are 58 champions. They're called heroes, a generic term, but in Paladins they're called champions. There's 58 of them, and they all have their own. They're all in their own little roles, and they all have different abilities. Each one has an ultimate ability along with the 3 other abilities. It's really weird that I think about that, even though I've played the game quite frequently. It's like, you think I would just know that? I put my fingers on the keyboard to think about how many buttons there were for abilities. But wait, what? 2? No, it's 3. Yes, because the right click is one of them. It's three abilities and an ultimate ability, and then you have your your little primary fire, your primary weapon. There's 3 game modes, and sometimes there's a 4th game mode that is sort of like shuffled in kind of randomly. You ever played like Brawlhalla, and they have those experimental mode where it's kind of just here's a random role we're throwing in. It's kind of like that. Occasionally they throw in like a random like match. Sometimes it's kind of silly like everyone is like all this one character. It's like that. They did that with the character whose name I don't know how to say. I don't know if it's 7 or if it's V, because it's VII, right? So. I don't know what that's meant to mean. I'm gonna call him 7. So, yeah. The main game mode is a very simple, sort of push, attack, defend type game mode. So how it works is there's 2 phases. The first phase, you're fighting over kind of capturing a point in the center of the map. Capturing it is simply standing on it uncontested for a certain amount of time. And then you have a progress bar that goes up, and if you step off the point, the progress bar stops, and if you're still on the point, it keeps going. And once you capture the point, then you become the attacker, and the opponent becomes the defender, and you have to push a payload from that captured point to the enemy's spawn point. So you get 1 point for capturing, you get 1 point for delivering it, if you manage to deliver it. If you don't deliver it, the other team gets 1 point, and it's first to 4 point wins. Except you cannot win on a defense, which is interesting. That was not always a thing. So, here's where reviewing it later changes things. You used to be able to actually win on a defense, which is kind of interesting. So let's say, my team captures it, or let's say the other team captures it, right? I defend. That's 1-1, right? Our team captures it. I defend. 2-2. I'm trying to make this situation work where the last thing is the defense. Say I capture it and they defend 3-3, whatever. Wait, that does not work. Okay, but I guess I don't really have to explain. Presumably, it's a combination, right? You can get into where you're defending, right? That would have to happen if you were winning already. You have to be winning. That's what it is. So let's say it was like 3-1 or something like that, right? And then the opponent team captures it, so it's 3-2, and then you defend it, and it can be 4-2, and you win, right? You used to be able to win off of a defense. Now you cannot. You don't get a point for defending if it's the point that would make you win. If you get what I'm saying. To be quite honest, I'm not actually sure why they made this change, but it definitely impacts the game a lot. There are many times where it's like, oh, we could have won here, but unfortunately, we don't get a point for that. So it happens pretty frequently. I've actually thought about it. I don't really get it. And I feel like I don't have any sort of opinion about it. It just feels like different, It's like whatever. I guess it rewards you more for being on the attack and not being able to rely on defending. I guess as well it balances out the sort of if your team is just, because the only scenario where that could happen is if your team is just winning by, say, 3-1, right? That's the only time you can win on a defense. You have to have a point to spare, essentially, because you have to be able to get on the defense, right? So I guess it could be a sort of balancing thing, a rubber banding effect, where it's like, well, you're already winning, so you're going to make it harder for you to win. You can't win on defense now, or something like that. So perhaps it's something like that. That's essentially the main game mode. There's also a team deathmatch, which is very simple. It's simply team deathmatch. There's nothing more to it, nothing special about it. You walk around, eat faster respawns by far, and I think it's first to 40 kills wins. That's the core idea. As you can see on the screen right now, if you're not on audio only, you can see the general gameplay. You have this character is so there are many characters in this game that are analogous to Overwatch characters, which is where a lot of comparisons are drawn. This character's name is Victor. He's like the sort of character you do in training. He is the absolute so his abilities, right, if you want to call them that, is one ability is a grenade, one ability is that he can sprint, and his other one is that he can aim down sights. So he's just an FPS character. He's the character you play when you're just starting because you don't know how to play a hero shooter or whatever, right? And you're like, well, I come from playing COD, right? So it's just COD, but in Paladins.
This person seems to be wrecking, though. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he has a skin, so he's probably good.
Yeah.
The Victor skill ceiling is I feel like it's not a skill you expect a skill over time graph to be either maybe linear or logarithmic, right? The longer you play, you can't really you start to hit skill ceiling. I feel like Victor is more like a sine wave, Well, a sine wave goes down. Well, okay, wait. He's more like a cubic function, right? That's what that is, right? Yeah, where it goes up and then it kind of plateaus and goes up again. Yeah, I feel like there's a section where you're like, well, I feel like I've maxed out my potential as an FPS player here, But then, there are some really cracked individuals who just take it to another level, I guess. And I'm just getting headshots only, and perfectly cooking their grenades to hit you exactly at the right time and stuff like that. But yeah, and if you're watching this video, you can probably draw one simple difference you can draw is from Overwatch is that the game is a lot slower paced in terms of it doesn't feel like you're looking at a rainbow on the screen at all times. Oh, it kind of looks like that, but it's not.
No, but it's not as bad. No, it's not nearly as bad.
Not nearly as pronounced. So when I'm playing Overwatch, actually, the reason why I prefer Paladins over Overwatch is because in Overwatch, I feel like I'm always doing something 24/7. I've never felt so literally any game. I don't think I've ever felt so I every moment of the game I'm aiming at something or trying to go somewhere. Every moment is is there a guy here? I gotta click or whatever. It's not there's no moment to relax until it's over. In Paladins, I feel like there's it's a nice balance of you're doing stuff, but a lot of stuff is for example, even simple things you're holding Q as Victor to cook the grenade. It's kind of a moment of I'm just chilling, kind of in a way. I'm not trying to track somebody super hardcore and stuff like that, I'm not. Well, one of those reasons I think for that is that the map is larger, right? So there's a lot more downtime in terms of just walking. So when you just spawn in, right, you just gotta walk a little bit, I guess. You actually spawn on a horse, so you actually move faster, I guess. But even then, in Overwatch, your distance between the main point and your spawn is minuscule. It's not much space at all. I think it's also the abilities as well. So oftentimes, for example, on the screen, when the player died, he's spectating a character called Ceres, and she can go invisible and invulnerable, right? And so in that moment, well, she can't attack her when she's doing that. She's kind of just chilling, right? It's not really for her to do. She just repositions, right? And there's not really, there's not that intense focus on as you kind of feel at Overwatch 24/7 when you're doing stuff like that. There's a lot more downtime in abilities, I guess, is one thing as well. So that's a big difference. But yeah, I think I think I started talking about comparisons with Overwatch, and the comparison to Victor really Soldier 76 in Overwatch is also kind of the kind of generic FPS character just in Overwatch.
Wait, so is this actually just a happenstance actually that they both came to the same design conclusion on these characters?
So it depends on the character because it depends on when they came out, right?
Right.
So, I mean, Overwatch hasn't really, Overwatch has, I'm pretty sure, a significantly lower roster of characters, and they come out significantly less frequently. Like, they just stopped at some point, more or less, until Overwatch 2 came out, and then they, had a few more. The Paladins, despite being a 5-year-old game at this point, they still, they were not nearly 58 when I started playing. It was way smaller roster of characters. And over time, every once in a while, just add a new character. So, it's like, if a character comes out later, right, you can say, well, clearly they could just see, the Overwatch character, right, and, be like, oh, let's take some stuff from that character. But there are some characters where it's like, they just came out at launch together. It's like, I don't really know how that happens, It was very possible they came to similar design conclusions, right?
Yeah.
And certain things are just, they're just archetypical. It's actually, there's nothing here, Such as, for example, having a character that's just an FPS character, but in Paladins Overwatch is just kind of a good introduction to the game, It's like a character that's still viable, but you can still use old habits to play them, right? While you're learning the new mechanics and stuff like that. That just kind of makes sense. And I guess both development teams are, getting good things, and they both were like, yeah, that makes sense. And they did it. So I can understand stuff like that. There's a character, I can't remember. There's Widowmaker in Overwatch and Kinessa in Paladins, which I always wonder is that a coincidence? Because I don't know of the way they operate isn't that archetypical. So they're all sniper characters. That is obviously archetypical. There's nothing special about that. The thing that's special about them is when they ADS, their damage increases over time, with how long they ADS until it reaches a certain point, right? And even the way it's visually represented is kind of similar. I don't know when these characters came out, so I don't actually know if there was one of them clearly knew about this other character, or something like that, or if it's just no, they kind of came up with the same idea, but, just in different places, Not really sure, but yeah, that's the I forgot what I was talking about actually originally.
I think you were basically comparing and contrasting characters in the two games.
Right. Yeah, that's the situation with the characters, There are certain, but there are also visual archetypes like Mercy and Mercy from Overwatch and Furia from Paladins, who are kind of angelic characters, who, they have wings and they're all kind of I was it's just I mean, that's not really a big brain idea. It's I don't know. It's it's bound to happen. I don't know. Or Androxus and his name Reaper. I think Reaper in Overwatch. They operate very differently, but they have similar appearance. Kind of edgelords, I guess. Reaper, kind of Grim Reaper, and Androxus is
so
similar
metal
in fashion, I guess.
Yeah.
There's nothing. In terms of visual appearance, I don't think there's anything that is straight up not archetypical, but they look the same.
Yeah.
So yeah. Now, in terms of wait a minute. Wait, hold on. Oh, wait. Am I Oh, never mind. Okay, never mind. Never mind. I was looking at an Overwatch wiki. I thought I was never mind. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, and so all characters in Paladins and Overwatch also fit a set of roles, and the roles are different in Overwatch and Paladins. In Overwatch, there are tanks, damage, and support characters. And you can kind of imagine what those are, right? Tank is generally a giant bullet sponge who is capable of taking a lot of damage, and he's sort of your point guy, Mm-hmm. And then you have damage, who's good at sustaining damage, right? And then you have your support, who's good at providing support to characters, whether it be healing or whatever it is, In Paladins, you have a similar thing, but with one additional role. So you get frontline, which is essentially the tank. You have damage, which is the same thing. You have support, which is the same thing, and you have flank. Though flank is the addition. Flank is characters are good at they kind of actually vary quite a lot actually in how they operate. Typically, it's just that they're highly mobile and they have a high amount of burst damage. So they do a lot of damage really fast, but then they might not be able to sustain it like a damage character.
It's like a hit and run type thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Typically, a lot of their strength comes from their abilities, whereas damage characters, a lot of their strength does come from their abilities as well. But oftentimes, their primary weapons are just far better at sustaining damage in the long run. There are exceptions, like I guess Eevee. Technically, her DPS is kind of high, but landing her shots is very hard. So it's easy to land shots on a target who doesn't see you. You're flanking them, they don't see you. But the moment they see you, it's like, oh, I gotta get out of here. I have also flank characters have less health than all the other characters, so it's like, kind of gotta get out of here. I can't really 1v1 a damage very easily. And she has two moves that are one of them's she's like a witch, so she flies on a broom. One of the moves, one of them she teleports. The other one puts her in a literal ace block that makes her invulnerable to damage. And compare that with damage characters, they don't tend to have much mobility. They might have one mobility move. Some of them don't have any, like Tyra. Tyra is a kind of like, I have a love-hate relationship because what is this ad?
I don't know.
Anyways, Tyra has no mobility moves, which means you're kind of easy pickings if you're low health for a flank. It's like, I literally cannot leave. Whereas I like playing characters that have a sort of jail. I call like a get out of jail free card, so like an ability, lets you live one more life. Teleport or some sort of mobility move. But Tyra also, the compromise that she has, able to output a lot of sustained damage. Now, one thing that I feel like the Paladins devs went wrong on the characters is with their map design. So actually, I'll take your opinion on this. I'm not actually sure yet. Okay. So here's the thing, right? When the game came out, there were a lot less champions. I don't know how many, but there were a lot less. And over time, they have a certain set of maps, and they may add maps, although that's very rare. Mm-hmm. There are only a few maps in the game, but they add champions over time, and so a lot of those champions can sort of interact with the map in ways. So the obvious example is a character called Khan, or a character called Torvald. I'll talk about Khan, I guess. So Khan's ultimate is very simple. He grabs a character, and he just throws them, right? He just throws them really far backwards, right?
Okay.
I'd be saying that sounds kind of useless, right? It's like, yeah. It's like, at face value, it's kind of useless. The useful part is that a lot of maps have edges on them where you can just fall off the map, right? So the nice thing, the premium thing you would do is you grab a character at like full health. It's like a frontline character. You grab them, you throw them off the edge, right? And suddenly it's like, wow, in one move you've taken off so much health that it would take forever for people to deal with, normally. That's that's like the good thing. There are certain maps that have just edge basically everywhere. There are, especially in team deathmatch. There are certain maps that have edge basically nowhere. So on this map, actually, I think if this map is the one I'm thinking of, there's an edge on the right side of the map from this player's spawn, but not on the left side, which is interesting. And it's not really easily accessible from the point. There's like buildings in the way, so you can't throw them very easily off that edge. If this is the map I'm thinking of, at least. I guess we'll see. But yeah, you have sort of abilities that will, is this the map I'm thinking of? Oh, this map? Yeah. Oh, this map is even worse than I was thinking of, actually. This map has very little edge on the right side, but even less than I thought it was. There's no edge on the left side. The map is asymmetrical like that, I guess, left and right.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about that? What do you think about characters performing differently on different maps because they have different skill sets? I noticed this when I was playing a character called Imani, and her ultimate lets her become like a dragon, essentially, but her body stays in place, and she summons a dragon, and you control that dragon, right? Mm-hmm. So, but if someone kills her body that's staying in place, the dragon also despawns as well, right? So you want to protect your body. But there are certain maps where it's so much easier. It's like, okay, this position is like literally you cannot get to my body without getting through the dragon first, right? And the dragon's he's kind of OP. He's an ultimate, right? So that's a very hard thing to do. But there are certain maps where it's like there are not many choke points where I can actually do that, where I can actually use that, or not many useful choke points at least,
So do you
this map, for example?
Oh God, sorry.
Huh?
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say this map, for example, there's actually a defined choke point towards the end of the last when you're pushing the payload towards the end. There's a clear choke point where the dragon probably be pretty crazy there, But But yeah, it's I consider it's like a kind of mid-tier dragon map, I guess. Well, yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, so do you get to see the map before you select your character, right?
Yes, you do.
And do can you switch you can't switch characters, right? Or can you?
Oh, unlike Overwatch, you cannot. In Overwatch, you can switch characters mid-game, but in Paladins, you cannot.
Yeah. So I feel like that adds like well, does it ever make like a character like absolutely useless in certain maps? Like literally just like it's just a negative EV move, like at all times. Like in no player's hands is this ever a good idea, kind of thing.
Let me think. I'm thinking maybe like a closer quarters map, like where there's a lot of walls and stuff like that. That would probably not let us do a sniper character. I don't think of like any maps though that are like really like there are like no. There are definitely maps where snipers excel. Like for sure. It's like it's like kind of annoying. I don't know if there are any maps where like that truly are just bad though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any map where like picking a character is like you cannot do any good with that character. You always need to do something. But the thing is, you might definitely be at a disadvantage. Like with the con thing, it's like your ultimate, pretty big thing in the game, right? It's like if your ultimate is like not like just throwing someone backwards now. Like, they do some damage to them at the same time, but like it's like I don't know. There are so many other ultimates that will be better in that situation.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I feel like I've played many games like that. That the different characters, even like games with loadouts, like different loadouts obviously affect or the maps affect which loadouts are more effective than others. I don't know if that bothers me though, because it ends up like being like a variety of gameplay, sort of thing. It encourages me to, or it encourages other players to like, stop just using one, their main or whatever, which they're probably super, super good at, and forcing them to have to diversify their skills or something like this. But I don't know. That's a loose opinion.
That's true. Yeah. Actually, something that comes to mind actually is Dirty Bomb with what's the dude's name? Like the starter guy, like the Skyhammer.
Artie or something.
Skyhammer. Artie's the other artillery guy.
Oh, okay.
Skyhammer has that like airstrike you can deploy. But the thing is, if you play on the map underground, you can based on the name, you can probably figure that's not useful.
Only in a few areas, yeah.
Yeah, there's only a few areas where it actually works, which is very interesting. Although in Dirty Bomb, it's a kind of like a middle ground between Overwatch and Paladins, where you can select 3 characters that you can possibly play throughout the game, right? So you can say, well, in this situation, I want to use Skyhammer, but then after that, I want to use whoever else, which is kind of interesting, I guess. Yeah, I guess maybe there's not really a best version, it's just different experiences, between all those 3 things. Yeah. One thing I will say though is that there are characters that could you can get into bad character matchups. There are characters that will. So, for example, a character called Drogos, he can fly, right? And so there are characters in this game that have hit scan attacks, which means they are instant, right? You click in and shoots a little beam at them, and then that beam either hits or it doesn't. And there are characters that, like the one you're watching right now, who doesn't have this projectile based weapon, where it has travel time to the projectile. You're trying to hit a flying target with a projectile-based weapon. That is typically very hard because the projectiles don't fly that fast, right? If it's hit scan, it's a lot easier. You just point and click and it works. A lot of projectile-based characters rely on like splash damage and stuff like that. So there's no floor to splash off of if it's an aerial-based character either, right? So can't really utilize that. So if you find yourself as Imani, who has only projectile-based weapons, for the most part, technically her right click is like projectile-based, but it is like a laser beam basically anyways, so it's whatever. I guess Drogos will probably beat you in a 1v1 like 9 times out of 10, just because he's just a better character in that matchup because he just flies.
Yeah.
Now that's not an issue in ranked. So there's ranked gameplay as well. In ranked, you have a sort of you can ban characters first off before selection, and also you select one at a time. So it's kind of weird. I don't know why it works like this. I don't know like the
Isn't that
the
how
logic behind it.
league works basically?
Maybe ranked league. I've played casual league. I'm trying to remember.
I feel like you can ban. You get
yes, yeah, it works like that. It works like that. Yes, it does work like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it doesn't make sense, you know. But unfortunately, here's a negative side of this game. Ranked gameplay in this game is absolutely horrible. It takes way too long to get into a match.
Ooh.
I don't know if it's a population issue. The game is actually it's not like a dead game at all. It's like being 5
Ranked is so important in games like this.
Yeah. But the issue is like, I don't know, the queue's long, and when you actually get into a queue, it's like, okay, the selection time for characters is massive. I don't know why it's like this. I just don't understand. Just make it like 10 seconds. Like just know your your matchups. Like you're playing this map, you play this character. Like I don't know, you know. Just
well, but does
like,
it not auto play once everyone's picked their stuff?
Oh yeah. But the thing is, people will just
some people will just sit there. Why.
It's like that in casual too, where level time is way less. It's like people will just wait until the last second, and some people do that because they're waiting for everyone else to pick first, which is fair enough. They just they'll just fill, right? They'll do whatever role needs to be done, right? And fair enough. Sometimes every role is filled, and it's just their choice. They can do whatever they want, and like without fail, like it's like a 40-second timer, right? It's like like you know they're not AFK. They're just looking at their computer. I don't understand why though, because the thing is they never actually like miss the timer. It never happens. They never miss the timer.
They're eating their Cheetos, you know, like they don't want to get their keyboards all, you know, they want to.
I don't know, man. It's so common. It's like every other match. It's like I know they're there because it's extraordinarily rare for someone to actually not pick. It is so rare. It's like I can't remember the last time that actually happened, you know. But it is so common for them to just pick. But pick really, really late, like last 5 seconds. It's like, why did you wait this long? I don't understand. But I still don't understand. You know, for me, it's like very simple. It's like I have characters I typically play for every role, and then I look at the map. Maybe usually I don't. Then I select a character. I feel like playing at the moment. If I feel like playing a new character, maybe I'll do that. You know. But even before I get into the match, I already like have my decision pretty much. You know. Sometimes I'll fill. I'll just wait a little bit. You know. Like, okay, whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of wacky. Also, people in ranked are obviously, I guess, more serious, which is like understandable. But they are too serious sometimes. Like, come on, guys. Like if you pick a character, if you pick certain characters, like, dude, this is like not in the meta. It's like, bro, stop talking, bro. Like, just let me play the character. The meta is 2 front line, 1 damage, 1 support, 1 flank, and even within them, they'll be like, oh, you pick this specific character in the damage. Like this character is like bad. It's like. I mean, I mean, I don't really care. I don't know, like.
But you also might be bad with a different character, no? Like you yourself could be.
That's true, right? Because I feel like there are even the characters that I like typically consider bad. I feel like there's always a guy who'll crush you. You know, you'll get to like a one random game, like this guy just understands his character. You know, like he just gets it. You know, like,
what's the sign of good balance?
Nobody else does. No? Yeah, I guess so. Although, that's a good segue into balance. Ooh. So. Now we discussed a little bit about how map changes the balance of it, right? But you know, you can select for the map. The map is shown beforehand, and we discussed how certain characters counter other characters. But as I said before, there's technically ranked. They technically tried, right? And it gave you a ranked mode where that's not really an issue, right?
By the way, we've got another chat on Rumble. Sup, Dionysus. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for stopping by. I'm glad to see some activity on the Rumble chat. I said this earlier because we have like, you know, we get, you know, a lot of views sometimes on our Rumble stuff, but no one ever talks. So it's good to see some people talking. And welcome to the podcast. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. Oh, what did the chatter say?
Oh, I just said yo. Yo.
Yeah, where the balance goes wrong is I feel like there's some characters whose skill settings are quite high, but once you reach there, like you are unstoppable in certain situations. You know, maybe this is a controversial take. I don't really know, but like characters like Meave, for example, who are I feel like are relatively hard to play. Projectile-based weapons that has drop and is relatively slow, and also has a relatively low fire rate. Those things do a lot of damage, though. What were you saying?
I was gonna say, Dione actually says, "I play this too. Do y'all play MOBA?" Well, I don't play MOBAs, but I don't know. Nathan
Nah,
does.
I mean, I used to actually play some mobile MOBA game. Like it's like League of Legends, like it was like the same thing. There's at some knockoff. No, but I used to play Battle Royale, which is like a MOBA in some sense, not traditional one, I guess. But no, nowadays I haven't played a MOBA in like a long time. But yeah. But yeah, there's certain characters where you see that like you load in and you see that character's like level 300 and you're like, all right, well, I mean, you're probably losing. You're probably gonna lose this game. Yeah, so certain characters like Neve, there are really good EVs as well. Whereas I feel like there are certain characters where like there are just like I mentioned before Victor. Victor, it's like you'll find like a good Victor, but like I feel like still like even like a top tier Victor isn't gonna output as much damage and get as many kills as like a top tier Neve. I feel this is a lot of that with healers too. Take Maldamba for example. Maldamba I feel like has a pretty like low potential, I guess you could say, where like look man, he can only heal so fast, and the healing isn't the hard part. You just kind of right. So one of his things, you literally right click on someone and they get healed. Right, that's like the simplest thing. Just do it, use it whenever you can. Really,
Yeah.
I guess the strategy is who to heal, and I guess you can also you don't have to use it immediately. You can wait too. It has a Q ability where it throws a little healing bomb thing on the ground. Pretty simple character to use, very 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 easy to figure out. But like I never I'm like wow, this Maldamba is like crazy, like like we're definitely gonna lose because it's Maldamba, whatever. But it doesn't feel that way with other characters. And there are not too many of them, right? It's like Neve, it's like Eevee. I felt like that with, but not many other ones. I feel like not many frontline characters have that feeling with. Not many support characters have that feeling with. Not many damage. Not many damage characters that really have that feeling with. Maybe just bad against flank. I don't know. I've had the thought with Xin, but definitely not all flank though, right? Like Androxus, I feel like is defeatable always. Like a Vatu or a Vora are always defeatable. Whatever with enough skill. Yeah, that's how I feel about balance in general.
Hold on. So Dione also says, my friend, his son named his son Ash after the character in this game. That's wild.
No way.
That's
Wait,
wild.
is this character playing as Ash? These characters playing? This guy. Not the one's being spectated, but when he spawns, we'll see. I think he's playing as Ash. Actually, Ash is a frontline character.
Okay. Wow. That's
This
pretty
is Ash.
wild.
This is Ash. She has, in my opinion, one of the best ultimates of the game. She basically. She didn't use it. Never mind. I was supposed to use it. She like jumps a little bit, lands, it plants a little flag, and then she's around that flag. She's literally invincible, and it just like if you do that when during a prime situation where you're about to capture the point, at the end you're about to capture the point, you just said no. You said not today, pretty much. Delaying it at least.
Well, it seems like a good name choice. Also, Ash happens to be an actual name, so that helps.
Yeah, it works out. Yeah. It's not 7 or V or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Aside from I guess shifting away from gameplay. This is another thing to mention. Gameplay that is very unique for a hero-based shooter. So, what I like about this game is there are 58 characters, right? Tons of ways to play the game because there are 58 characters, right? Which, by the way, give it to them. For only a few characters that are like I consider very hard to defeat at max skill ceiling, it's 58 characters, so that's pretty good balance when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's not many games. League of Legends, Heroes, has like a trillion characters, I guess. But I'm pretty sure characters come in and out of the meta like every like moment in that game too.
Do.
So yeah, but in this game, not only have 58 characters, you can customize them in ways that like genuinely change the way you play. Now, it's not perfect. So one of the basic ways you can change are the talents. Every character has 3 talents they can pick from that drastically, sometimes drastically changes the way that they play the game. Let's look at Ash's, actually. I don't actually know her talents because I don't play Ash. So just 3. One of them is called Batter and Ram. Reduce damage taken by 75% while using shoulder bash, which is like a charge. Oh, she's about to do it right there. It's like a charge
nice.
she does, and it's somebody. Yeah. The slug shot. Your weapon shots travel 50% faster, and 100% farther, but no longer explode. Which you can imagine, if it no longer explodes, it's kind of like actually a big deal because as someone who's recently playing at Monty, who has a talent that does the opposite, it makes her projectiles explode but do less damage. Being able to hit people and you can't see them, very useful. You don't have to see them. You just you kind of click at a wall near them, and as long as they're close to that wall, I've gotten many kills by unsuspecting victims who are low behind a wall. I'm like, oh, I know you're there. Just hit the wall, And her other talent, increased siege shields maximum health by 2,000, which is a lot, and size by 50%, but reduces movement speed by 80%. So she has a little deployable shield she can deploy that moves a little bit. This makes it more buff, but it doesn't go forwards as fast. Now, there are certain characters where the talent just feels like there are some that are literally just better than others, such as Koga. Koga is a flank character who has he's a talent that I think he's the only character has a talent that makes him just worse. It's actually a talent that is a detriment to his existence.
Wait, what?
There's
gotta be someone to
some
figure
background. I don't know. Maybe I gotta look at some the talent's called Dragon Fangs. And the thing is, you have to unlock these talents, and it's the one you unlock last. So theoretically, if you have maybe the edge or something like that, if I think they typically tend to be around as good, more or less. But so for context, Koga is a flank character, and his normal weapon kind of sucks. It does no damage basically, right? But when he presses Q, you can go into what's called Dragon Stance, where his weapons change to these knife things that he throws, like claws, and I don't know how to explain the visual thing, so we'll call them knives that he throws. I guess he throws these knives out, and they do a lot of damage though, right? So that kind of compensates, but he can't stay in that mode forever, right? He has a finite time he can do that for, right? So that's the balancing thing. So what this does is it says, it's called Dragon Stance, when he does that. So this talent says, Dragon Stance consumes health instead of energy at a rate of 200 health per second. Dragon Stance requires at least 300 health to activate and automatically cancels at 15 health. So instead of you being, you having this timer, that's the unit of measurement of that timer's energy, you instead run down your health. 200 health per second is 10 seconds of being alive, by the way. So he can do that for 10 seconds, and then he dies. He doesn't die. It automatically cancels. I think Koga has around 2,000 health. It's it might be a little bit more than that or something like that. He has, let me just check. Yeah, he has exactly 2,000 actually. 2,000 health, so you can do that for 10 seconds. Now, if you wanted to do this instead and not kill yourself, the thing is, right, you can even, let's imagine you want to do this for 5 seconds, right? It's are you really going to, now you're fighting at half health. I don't really know, but I can't imagine a situation where that's just a good idea. Both of his other talents are just infinitely better, in every single way. They don't kill him. Just a good thing. It was a slower rate, I can understand it, but 200 health per second is pretty fast. Yeah. I am actually, I would consider myself a Koga main as my main character, I guess, and I cannot imagine using that talent. It sounds absolutely horrible. Instead, a good segue actually to another way that you can change the way your characters work. These are called they're called loadouts, right? Now they're not the same as Dirty Bomb loadouts or something like that, although they kind of have a similar parallel, I guess, in that in Dirty Bomb the loadouts come with little perks. Some of them, I think, based on their rarity, they come with perks, and they might be 10% degrees damage to explosions. I don't know if that exists, but just as a possible example, right? Little tweaks that I feel I typically never noticed, but little stat changes. In Paladins, they are a lot more useful typically. As the character, some characters have very poor loadout options. Some of them are a lot more interesting, such as Koga's. So see if I can find can I see loadouts on Wiki? I can do the pre-built. So every character comes with 3 sort of default loadouts that you can use. So you start out with something, right? But I don't really. It doesn't show the total. So okay, here's how it works. Each loadout has 5 slots for cards, and each card has some sort of perk to it. pretty much. It does some sort of something. So here's an example of a Koga card, for example. This one's called Trigger Happy. Increase your healing received by 5% while firing your SMGs. Kind of boring one, but that's just one of them, right? So you can have 5 of these cards in a slot, essentially picking sort of 5 perks you want. There are, I want to say 16 you can choose from, I think, right? It's 4 for your primary weapon / armor. It's called weapon / armor. So it's usually something defensive or something that helps your primary weapon. In this case, increase your healing received by 5% while firing SMGs. It's kind of both, actually. It's kind of related to both your primary weapon and being more survivable. Then you have so you have 4 cards that'll be dedicated that are possible for that, and you have 4 for each other ability, essentially, that you can that'll do some good thing to the ability or whatever, right? Cards won't fundamentally change the way your character works, like talents. They'll just provide buffs usually, or not always, I guess. So like maybe something that's more interesting might be like here. So heal for 40 after activating Shadow Step. So Koga has this ability where he teleports. Often it's used to run away, so you can imagine that healing when you're running right would be kind of useful. And so you heal when you Shadow Step, kind of useful, right? Now 40 health isn't a lot, you might be saying, right? I said you have 2,000 total. That's like absolutely nothing, right? But here's the thing. So you can add 5 cards to your loadout, but you have 15 points to play with. And you can level up your card, and each level uses a point, essentially, right? So I can have up to level 5. So I can have a level 5, this is called Tenacious, where you heal for 40 after activating Shadow Step. So I think if you leveled up level 5, I think it's 200 you heal for, but it uses 5 of those 15 points, right? And you can delegate the rest of the 10 points however you want to different cards, right? And you can imagine, this can change your playstyle quite a bit, because imagine getting 200 health from Shadow Step by using it. You might actually just use that to heal up randomly, you know what I'm saying? You might not even be trying to get away from it. It's like the healer's taking this time to heal the front line. Let me just heal real quick by just using Shadow Step, right? If you don't have that, that's not even an option in your tool belt, It's not a thing you could even do, You're doing something else. My card loadout changes the way I play Koga quite a bit. So for me, I have there's a card that makes your Dragon Stance use a lot less energy, and I had that maxed out. And basically, this lets me use that for a very long time. So I typically use the Dragon Stance longer than I'm using my normal SMGs. And I think that's kind of just a goated card set in my opinion. But some people disagree. But whatever. But that's my preferred way of play. So it's really cool that you can have different characters play in quite different ways. So yeah, I think that is honestly one of the coolest parts about Paladins is the loadout system. And lastly, the last way that your playstyle is affected can change pretty quite a bit by using the same character. Although this is probably the least impactful one. Are the items you buy. So kind of like I guess League of Legends or something like that. There is a shop you can buy from at your spawn. You've probably seen it in the replay a little bit where when the character dies, he goes into a little UI thing where you can buy different perks. These tend to be just simple stat increases, such as decreased cooldown to ultimate or abilities, or increased heal from healers, or decreased damage from direct damage, reduced effective crowd control. Very simple, just stat changes. Nothing too crazy. But that can also really change the way you play. For example, when I play Maldamba, because I understand the Maldamba way is to simply right-click on characters. That is, you just heal, right? You right-click and you press Q on characters. It's that simple. I max out Chronos, which is the item that you can keep buying. So you level up the item you buy, right? So you can, I think it's up to 3 times, and it gets more expensive every time. So I get level 3 Chronos, my first objective, which decreases the time to use an ability by some large amount, I forget what it is, which means that I can essentially always be healing. I can right click, and by the time that it heals over time, by the time that heal over time ends, I'm pretty much ready for another right click. I can just consistently heal over and over and over again, because that's just brainless character really. Nothing much to him. So yeah, that is I guess the gameplay section of that. So, changing gears quite a bit, there are the visuals and the art style. As you can see, I feel like it went with a sort of similar idea of keep this thing very easy to run, like Overwatch. It's very simplistic. The style is okay until you kind of look at it on close inspection. You look at characters up close, it's oh man, that is That is
What
horrible.
is this, 2006? Like, what are we doing here?
Even at max settings or whatever, ultra settings, you look at these characters, you're like, why are you like kind of pixelated? That's kind of strange, huh? I guess they're counting on you not looking at people closely. It's really only in the little spawn lobby area. You'll be before a game, you'll be looking at people like, huh, that looks really bad actually.
But is adding just a few, like just a little bit more pixel density and a little bit more polygon, is it really make that huge of a difference?
I'm pretty sure texture resolution is pretty impactful actually. So I guess it's that. It also keeps the files smaller, the game smaller.
That's true, yeah.
So
gotta keep it laptopable.
Yeah. Every laptop gamer,
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like despite there being 58 characters, there's pretty varied character design. Every character is easily spottable when you see them. Usually, there are skins that radically change the way the character looks. And oftentimes, what you should do is before you play, you start the match, look at the other characters, because you should be able to like looking at the map, right? How that informs your character decision. Looking at your opponents should inform the way you pick your loadout and the way you pick your talent and the way you buy your items, right? It's like how do I play effectively against this team? I usually don't do that. I was like, going into this thing, I have no idea who's on the enemy team, and I'm looking around, I'm just learning. I'm like, as I'm looking, I'm like, oh, there's a Fernando there. Okay, good to know. He's on their team. But usually I have no idea, no issue, immediately out of 58 characters, being like, oh, that is that character. I see him. Except certain skins that will radically change the character. I'm like, I don't know who that is. I have to look at the top right and be like, oh, it's like a Genos or something like that. Genos is a bad example. I think all of the skins are very straightforward, but there are certain characters that are less straightforward. It's like, oh, like I think Buck has Buck is like just like a dude, right? There's like a skin that makes like a shark guy, and it's like, what? Such a radical difference. But yeah. But yeah, if you don't look at these too closely, it's not like it's not the greatest looker. It's like okay, it's fine. Yeah, it's not really something you'll think about probably most of the time. Nothing's ever gonna stand out to you as like, wow, it's crazy, But usually things won't look horrible, I guess either. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. This game gets regular content updates over all this time. The balance work is definitely hard because they keep balancing characters to this day. There have been some regressions, like for example, it's kind of a small thing, but they got rid of the end of match replay. So they used to be at the end of the match, used to be a play of the game replay. But due to technological issues with them adding characters, apparently it became too hard to maintain. But I guess certain abilities, like I can imagine, like Atlas has an ability where he can rewind time for himself or for other characters. I can imagine that being like kind of a headache to figure out, on the replay maybe. Although I don't really, I assume. The simplest thing you can do is, track player positions and you just play that back, right? Which is simple, but things like ability effects and stuff like that, I imagine maybe that's like all crazy and stuff. I don't know, but yeah. I guess that's the hard part. And the game is free to play. There are no there's no pay to win elements. You can only buy skins. You can buy characters too, but none of the characters are like expensive and unattainable. Characters when they just come out start kind of expensive, but then they get cheaper. And to know how fast you'll get characters, I can buy many characters right now. I just don't because I don't want to. Because there's so many characters I haven't played yet that I own. It's like I have a backlog of characters. Ain't no way. It's talking about. Look, go back to the start. I'm referring to this chatter right here. He says, "Ain't no way." He's talking about Paladins. Yeah. Go back to the start of this podcast. I explained why I'm talking about Paladins. I said someone's gonna say that. So I was like, why are you talking about Paladins? It's like 2023.
You did
and
predict
why are you
this.
talking about Overwatch instead? I said this.
He did predict that exactly.
Look, I have reasons. Just go back. Rewind. Oh man. But yeah. Anyways, almost done. So yeah, free to play. Buy skins, stuff like that. It's a pretty simple model. Nothing too crazy there. It has a relatively healthy player base. At least notably in South America. I play against many Spanish speakers. I'm not really sure why it's popping in South America, but yeah, that's how that is. And why they're on anime servers, because I think in that case you would think that SA servers would be also popping, but I don't know. Maybe they don't have SA servers. But yeah, in conclusion, Paladins is a different experience from the other hero-based shooters, and my voice is gone right now. I don't know if you can hear that.
I can hear it.
I have to get some water this segment. It's a very different experience from other hero-based shooters. There are many similarities and differences to, of course, the obvious comparison being Overwatch, but there are many differences that people don't appreciate. I don't think it's better or worse than Overwatch. I think it's just generally different. It's a different experience. If you want something that's more fast-paced and that's more, twitchy and stuff like that, something that where you probably going to rely on typically on the average character, not all characters, on having a really good aim and stuff like that. Then Overwatch is pretty good. Obviously, abilities and stuff like that are infinitely useful as well. In Paladins, I think it tends to be more ability focused. There are some characters where I feel like you can kind of get by without being pretty bad at aiming. Abilities are probably more impactful in Paladins than they are in Overwatch. So, or at least certain abilities, even in Overwatch, require you to aim anyways. It's like you don't really fully escape it. So, not that that's a bad thing. It's a different experience. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Nice, and that was definitely a complete breakdown of Paladins.
Yeah, not scripted by the way, for like a kind of rare moment. I didn't actually script to that, so.
Yeah, and we had some people giving their thoughts along the way, which was really fun. We always like that. And Metropolis, we were just yanking your chain just in case you feel like we were making fun of you or something like that. Welcome to the show. We love to have everyone on while we podcast along. It's good to have people chiming in live. So that's it for your segment, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Want to close it out and transition us?
Sure. Thanks for watching this segment of Mixed Media Podcast. And once again, special thanks to our local supporters, Rob Sharma, 909 Crime, Kairos, and Post. If you'd like to support this podcast, consider heading to our page at mixedmedia.locals.com and checking out that stuff. We have tons of perks. You can find out what those perks are there. They're actually infinite that people don't take advantage of, but you could. Like that live whiteboard you can draw on right there on the right side of the screen. Or, right side of the screen.
Yeah.
I was going to say left because, it's reversed because I'm on a camera. I was like, wait, that's not how that works. It's a digital image. Thanks for watching, and if you're watching live, stick around for the next segment, which will be a pretty spicy one potentially. So, yeah.
Yeah, and over onto Arguing with Reddit. Here we go.
Mixed Media Movies.
And welcome back to Mixed Media. If you've been sticking around for the live show, you are a real one. Thank you so much for being around. It's always great to have an audience to talk to while we blab about our favorite things. So we just had a great gaming segment where Nathan broke down in pretty thorough detail in 2023 Paladins. And if you want to know why he talked about it all and what his thoughts were, you just have to go back in the VOD and go check that out. Or if you're listening on podcast only, just go check out our page where you can see them. Now, before we begin, we should reintroduce ourselves for those who didn't hear our intro before. So my name is Irving Nestor. I'm a filmmaker and media entrepreneur. I own a company called Ariella based out of Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania.
My name is Nathan Nestor. I'm a 3D modeler and video game developer, and I'm going to go get some water because my voice is gone.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, in the meantime, while he's getting water, I'm going to explain to you what we're about to do and switch over... Oh, what's that awful noise? Let's get rid of that. Okay. And switch over to our Arguing with Reddit segment. Now, what we typically do on Arguing with Reddit is we react to hot takes from, that my co-hosts have picked for me and I haven't seen before. Let's pull it up here. Yada, 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 yada. Let's see. Let's put me in the hot seat real quick. There we go. And so I haven't seen any of these hot takes that my co-hosts typically pick for me. Right now, Ben is absent, so it's just Nathan. So he picked two for me that I haven't seen, and I picked one for myself. So I'll be going through 3 reactions. One of them is a video of Tom Hanks, so stay tuned for that. I'll be reacting to that live. If you have your own hot takes while we go over this stuff in the chat. Definitely drop your hot takes in the chat. I'll be happy to react to them live, especially because we don't have a third today, so our show is a little bit shorter than normal. With that being said, waiting for Nathan to come back. But with that being said, if you didn't hear earlier, I'm doing a give, send, go to digitally save Dealey Plaza because they are changing Dealey Plaza entirely. So if you want to help save Dealey Plaza, at least digitally, you have to wait because I'm finishing up the Give, Send, Go campaign tonight. You can search Dealey Plaza on Give, Send, Go eventually. I was just stalling Nathan until he came back. Oh, wait, I muted you. Hold on. There you go. Yeah, so that's a whole story. You can go check out the beginning of the podcast if you want to know the whole story behind the Dealey Plaza thing. Okay.
Remember to play the music if you're not. I don't know if you are.
Oh, yes, and we also have new music. Not new music, but music now to go along with arguing with Reddit. Let me find... Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. You're making that weird buzzing sound again.
I'm muted, so I don't really know.
I think sometimes when you mute, it like randomly like creates this weird buzzing sound. I don't know why.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, wow. I nuked our video. That's not what I meant to do. This is classic. Okay, there we go. Let me know if you like the music. Going along with Arguing with Reddit, it's a new addition. If you don't, then just chime in and I will nuke the music. Okay. Alright, let's pull up our first one. So this first one is from Nathan, and let me grab the link for it. This is the first link you posted, Nathan, if you want to give us the lowdown while we pull it up.
Sure. Just titled simply Best Opening Scenes from R-Size Movies. And you can probably figure out where I was going from the title. It's just, I guess is potentially a hot take in the thing itself. Actually, well, aside from like a pick of the best opening scene, it says, "Oh, I read this wrong." Okay, well, I thought it said scenes should be self-contained as their own short films. It says scenes that could be self-contained as their own short film. So, okay, well, there's that hot take. There's no take there. Where that got you hyped the rest of the movies, etc. You get the idea. The first that came to mind for me are Scream, the first one in particular, which has just an iconic first scene that, in my opinion, might be Wes Craven's finest piece of work. Or to say, Glorious Bastards also has an incredible first scene. Dark Knight also comes to mind, but I'll stop. I want to hear your favorites.
Interesting. Okay, so yeah, the opening scene in Dark Knight, just off the gate. Oh, you're doing the buzzing thing again. Maybe you should just not mute.
Yeah, I guess I thought background was really bad if I unmuted, but it seems like it's worse if I mute. So
yeah. Let me fix. Reddit keeps fiddling with their freaking their layout. I don't know if you've noticed that on Reddit, but they just keep fiddling with it. But yeah, so no. Definitely agree with Dark Knight. That's definitely a good pick. One of the most iconic openings of all time, I would say. I think a lot of people, it's extremely, extremely memorable. And if you don't remember, that's the introduction of Joker, the introduction of Heath Ledger as they're robbing a bank. And you think that as you're watching it, you're like, I see where we're going. We're going with a mob story. Yeah, that's not where we're going at all. This is going to be a crazy ride, is what that scene is sort of hinting at the end of that scene. Great scene. Let's see here. Scream, I actually have not seen, and it's not really high up on the list. I'm not gonna lie. So I don't know when I'll see Scream, but I can't really comment on that. Inglourious Bastards is literally the opening scene of Inglourious Bastards might be in my top 5 favorite scenes of all time. Just period. If you don't understand why, you need to pick up a copy right now, shove it into your Blu-ray player, and feast your eyes on the first 20 minutes of the film and ask yourself, will you actually stop playing this film? Because you won't. It's so good. It is so beautiful. I actually wrote an essay about the beginning of Inglourious Bastards. If you go over to my LinkedIn, search my name, Irving Nestor, on LinkedIn, you will find an essay that I did. It's not very good. It was the literal first essay I think I ever wrote on anything film. But if you want to get some scatterbrain thoughts on it, you can go check that out. But absolutely glorious. Let's see what other people have to say. Dawn of the Dead, I have not seen. Raiders of the Lost Ark, I have not seen. I know these are all sacrilege things to say. Blade, I have not seen. The Incredibles, that is a different direction.
What was the opening scene of The Incredibles? Oh, is it the backstory? Is that the opening scene?
It's like it's Mr. Incredible fighting crime basically, and Elastigirl comes in at the end of the scene, I believe. It's like when they're younger, you know.
Yeah, I'm watching it right now. It's part of the flashback. Oh wait, no way! This movie is 4x3. It's not old, I forgot.
No, the movie's definitely not originally 4x3.
Oh my gosh! Wait, what am I watching? So the YouTube video, the first thing you look at the Incredibles opening scene. The first video, okay, this is the opening scene. But okay, you get like a Bandicam watermark, which I don't know why we're still doing that in 2023, by the way. Or I guess this was 2 years ago. But I don't know why we're still doing this like anywhere in the past decade. Yeah. But it's not even just one, right? It's two. So this person recorded a recording as two Bandicam things layered on top of each other. It's like, why are we? There's no way it actually worked. The advertisement worked. I don't know. That's crazy.
And they probably cut off the sides
open source
too.
software like OBS.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, yeah, this is 4x3. I don't.
Yeah, no, the movie's not originally 4x3, guaranteed.
Oh, maybe it's the opening because the opening's old. It's supposed to be an old time.
Oh, that could be it.
Know?
Yeah, that could be.
Let me see if I skip. Well, it doesn't go past the last zero, so I don't know. Oh, okay. I actually forgot about this part. Okay.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's actually like a really good curveball because people kind of skip the kid films when I think of greatest anything of all time, but that opening scene is fantastic, and I think the driving force of the fantasticness, and Ben would agree probably if he were here, is the music. The music of that opening scene is just absolutely fire. It introduces you to the musical world of the entire film, which is iconic at this point. Which the music was done by Giacchino. So if you don't believe me, go look up the music for Incredibles, and you'll be absolutely flabbergasted about the just beautiful detail of that score. It's fantastic. Let's just grab a few here. Lord of War, I haven't seen. I haven't seen any Daniel Craig James Bond. I feel bad here. The first 12 minutes of The Matrix is sublime. The Matrix. What's the first 12 minutes of The Matrix? Why am I blanking on that?
I have actually never watched The Matrix.
Ooh. Let's see. Opening scene of Matrix. I don't know why I can't remember exactly what it is. Let's see here. I can't pull it up, unfortunately, because I'll get copyright nuked. Oh, it's with the text. The classic green Matrix text. Yes.
How about that Star Wars opening? Masterpiece.
Oh yeah, I remember this now. Oh, it's pretty good. It brings you into the weird surrealness of the Matrix style, pretty well. So I can see that. But let's see. Off the top of my own dome, let's see what are some openings that come to mind. Shutter Island opening is amazing. There's so much packed into such small imagery. It's just Shutter Island is one of my favorite movies of all time. Period. Fantastic opening. Any Scorsese opening at that actually, because the moment that the guy paints a frame, I'm immediately sold. Like, you don't have to, and it's crazy because I felt like that before I even really knew who Scorsese was, back in the day, before I really got into film. But, like, I was watching Scorsese films not knowing that there's a common person behind the thing, and then I'd pop it, I was like, why do I just feel so good from the first frame? And it's the absolute elegance in which the frames, the pacing, the dialogue at times, depending on the movie, is put together is so classy that it just makes you feel immediately like you're in good hands. I don't know how to explain it other than that. There's no other words I can use for it. Let's see. All Christopher Nolan openings, fun fact, tell the story basically in the opening shots.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, so if you look at Interstellar,
I don't know if I have like a poor memory. Like the beginning of Interstellar is an interview with a lady, right? Like some older lady, I think.
Well, the literal opening shots is not.
Oh,
there's the title shots that happen first before that, and that's where the story is told.
I don't know.
You're looking at a bookshelf, and there's like some stuff on the bookshelf, and the bookshelf underneath.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah,
I can understand. I don't remember what the exact names were. I can imagine how that would tell a story. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about The Prestige?
The Prestige is explained. The whole story is explained to you at the beginning.
Yeah, he says it. Okay, actually. Wait a minute. I think he says it, yeah. That's crazy, because even if I told someone, it's not a spoiler. Because you can tell someone it's all explained, but they still have no idea what's going to,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen still.
Yeah. No, he likes doing that little trick, and I like it. It's a little signature Nolan thing. It makes him him.
What about Inception? Sorry, I was just...
Inception, the first thing you see is the top, no? Let me see.
That's what I don't actually remember that, but I was thinking that if it's telling the whole story, then I can imagine that like the top would be like the thing. It's like, that'd be the start of it.
Yeah, let me just make sure. Let's see here. Inception opening scene. Yeah, so, actually, there's the ocean. Okay, I might go watch the Inception opening scene. If you've watched Inception, it's pretty genius.
Alright, let me see it.
It does tell the whole story, and it's actually the whole duration of the scene tells the whole story basically, and basically tells you the dilemma of the ending in the opening. Anyway,
there's actually Christopher Nolan has have you heard the story of like Christopher Nolan saying what the ending is actually, like what is supposed to happen, like in his brain at least, like happens post film?
Wait, what? He said what it is?
Well, Michael Caine leaked it. He wasn't supposed to.
Oh! I do know about this. It's
kind of funny.
Yeah, no, I think in a weird way. Here's my weird take on that. In a weird way, he's giving an outside interpretation of what he thinks would happen, like in his not in a way of the writer, if you get what I mean, but in the way of because as a writer, he didn't write. I guarantee you, if I interrogated him, he would say he did not write the ending with a specific outcome in mind, because the whole point of the ending is to incept an idea in your mind. That is the whole point of the ending, right? So it would make no sense for him to decide what that means, because the whole point of the ending is to make you philosophize at the end as to the why of the whole thing, right? And then hopefully abstract larger life lessons out of that. But his own reflection of the ending, if you get what I mean, like his own mulling over of the whole thing, leads him to that conclusion that I won't spoil, that Michael Caine talked about. Does that make sense?
I gotcha. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I feel that with and I know that because I have concepts in which that it's the same thing. Like I have a particular concept when the ending is there's no ending. There's no or conclusion of the central tension at the end of the film. There's no conclusion, and I'm not going to make one secretly, if you get what I mean. I actually don't know personally, but I could have thoughts about it in a weird way, like an outsider looking in on the story, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, weird writer talk. Okay, let's go to the next one. So next one is going to be Tom Hanks. I think I'll actually leave the music going while we're reacting to Tom Hanks, because hopefully maybe that'll help you with copyright. We'll see. Because this is a clip from ABC NewsHour or something like that, so hopefully we don't get nuked.
I don't be able to hear it. Hold up.
Yeah.
Stream.
Probably best for you to pull it up on Discord, right?
Oh,
because
this
it's real time.
Yeah. I don't have Discord open on this computer.
But backstory for this: if you don't know, that there's a writer's strike happening in Hollywood right now, and it's kind of spread to the Actors Guild, and it's probably spread elsewhere. And I'm not terribly familiar with the details still. I might do a dedicated episode on the whole thing. Kai says in the chat, I think it would be great if the whole hot take were just Tom Hanks verbatim. Yeah, that would be funny. Actually, I should pull up the chat here. Give me a second. I didn't pull up the arguing red. There we go. Now we can see the chat. Yeah, so there's a writer's strike, and Tom Hanks is giving his perspective, and I kind of wanted to react live to his thoughts, and give my thoughts on top of that. So let me pull it up here. What's the best way?
I'm struggling to... Man, our laptop's so slow. I didn't have any... I made a mistake opening... I was like, what's going to load faster? Discord, like the browser thing, or the app thing? So I opened them at the same time, but then Discord, the app had to update, which I think just slowed everything down at once. So I was like, I just ruined myself. But and I have two-factor authentication going on.
Let me see if I can see some comments before we go ahead. Seems like he's saying, without saying, the streamers are producing way too much poor quality SHIT, oversaturating the market, too many low-quality choices for the consumer, devalues the very high-end stuff, and takes away too much of the pie. Okay, yeah, we're going to get into that, that's for sure. There's a lot of ranting to be done on this topic. Are you good?
Yeah, 1 millisecond. It took me forever to find my two-factor authentication app, but I found it. Alright, I'm in Discord, Mixed Media, and...
Let me know if the volume is too loud, by the way, in the music, once you get in there.
Wait, say something?
Hello.
Say something again.
Hello? Is the Discord not working?
I don't think so. No. Wait, I don't hear anything. I don't hear you twice. I just did hear you twice, unless it's so in sync. Let me like play the video. Maybe it's just so in sync.
Wait, try this. How about this? Does that work?
Now I hear you.
Oh, I had the wrong cable input. Virtual cable. Wow, okay, that's embarrassing. Okay, but wait, is the music good though?
Oh man, I think well, I hear myself. I gotta mute myself a little bit. Okay, I think Discord is treating it as noise.
Oh, okay. So maybe Discord's not the right.
So it's like when you talk, it's like shimmery. Like I hear a little bit of like some notes. When you stop talking, it's just silent.
Oh, I think I have my suppression. Okay, this is a lot of background BS. Then no one else should have to worry about this. I'll fix this right now. But okay, now it should work flawlessly. Let's see here. Okay, so let's listen to Tom Hanks as he explains the writer's strike. Here we go.
You mentioned the strike.
Okay.
I mean, it was sort of a disconnect for me as I'm reading your novel about the people behind the scenes making a movie, and then on our program, on our news program, we're reporting on the strike, people making movies. But something's not working for them. Something in the industry, the economics, or the relationships.
I made 2 times this.
Strike are you? How worried are you about the people?
I think a thing happened recently, and I'll go back to the 1980s as far as technology goes, because the moment you could watch any movie you wanted to, anytime you wanted to, as long as you had a copy of it on VHS, that altered the economic structure. Suddenly there was a huge revenue stream that came from making anything. You made a tape of it.
Okay, so the first response basically to what in the industry is broken, basically, that causes the writer's strike to occur, right? And the interesting thing is that he starts immediately talking about VHS, which I thought was very interesting. He goes all the way back to the sort of diversification of media that was happening in like the the 90s, basically. Where you could go to Blockbuster, you could grab a VHS to rent, or you could buy a copy of something. And he's basically saying that created a revenue stream, that the only thing that you had to do to get sales was convince someone to grab the VHS off the shelf. Unlike a theater, where word of mouth and reviews is controlling whether or not you're going to make the trip to the theater. Does that make sense? So he's saying that you didn't have to produce anything good. He'll get to the point in a moment. I watched like half of this.
It's still to sell 110,000 copies, so it'll be in the local video rental store. Right? Take that and add on to it, and everything pay-per-view and now streaming goes. That revenue aspect of it, this is totally business. This ain't art. This is literally the bread and butter issues of how can that pie, that financial pie, be divided so that the people, the artists, who are truly responsible for how good anything is going to be. Start with the writers who build all of this stuff out of nothing. If the writers, and I'll say along with it, the directors and the actors, and also IA, the people who do this for a living, have to work so hard and get paid as little as possible in order to bring these things to fruition, that's not good for the food chain. That's not good for the ecological atmosphere of the arts and sciences.
Okay, so this is interesting because I'm not sure if I actually understand his point enough to like disagree or agree with the point that he's making here. He's saying that what the industry ended up doing in the wake of the diversification of media is they ended up shrinking the budget to pay people for their craft, for doing their craft well, and transition to how little can we pay the person before they leave, essentially, or how little can we pay some person in order to get the job done. What's up? What are you laughing at? Well, what's going on here?
Okay, so I was just wait. Oh, I gotta mute Discord now because
you're hearing yourself.
Yeah. Wait, give me like one. Okay, things are like weird. Wait, you're muted now. You're muted everywhere now. Wait, say something?
Hello?
How do I unmute you on Skype? I muted. Wait. There's no unmute button. The mute is just grayed out. The mute is just grayed out, and as though it didn't replace itself with the unmute button.
That is.
What? Okay, I guess that's
Can I unmute myself?
I guess, but let me. Alright, so I'm stuck on Discord, and wow, that is a annoying effect to hear myself.
Can you hear me now?
You're muted on Skype. Oh.
Wait, can you hear me now though?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anyways, so the funny thing is, so I'm looking at this. I was on the Discord interface. I was looking at it, right. I was making sure I was like muted on Discord on the stage thing, right. I was like, I'm pretty sure I can't talk, right. I looked at the bottom row where the mute button is. There's a button that says unmute music. I was like, unmute music. What is that?
What?
Click on the button. It's just background music playing. There's two sets of music now. There's just music. I don't know where this came from.
What kind of weird feature? Okay, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I don't know how to change that. I don't know what that is. It's like some generic like.
Yeah.
It's just funny because like I didn't expect to hear like I knew you didn't put that there. Like it's just like.
Yeah. Okay. Heck? Anyway. Oh man, what was the point? Oh yeah, so I wasn't understanding. So he's basically saying that the physical media caused a transition in the way that we pay people. Basically, you either, instead of before, you pay people for being the craftiest person, the best at this, or the best person you can afford for this. It transitioned to the smallest margins possible. So what can you get away with paying the person before they quit? What is the cheapest person you could afford, that can get the job done adequately, right? And that those were straight to VHS products that ended up, coming out in the store and selling some minimum that ended up yielding a profit. And that's the change in the model, right? I'm not sure, and this is where maybe those in the chat or Nathan can give me ideas. I'm not sure why this is forced by the physical media and could not also be, like, what about the economics of the whole thing makes it so that wasn't the case already in the movie theater?
That was actually my question too. I didn't get it. Yeah,
I'm not sure. I mean, here's the thing that I think is underrated about when we think about economy, right? Is that there's all culture. Culture is a very important part of the economy. Like, if he's making a cultural argument saying that VHS brought a culture of consumerism to the craft space, which ended up bleeding into all of cinema, then I could start to understand that, although would need to, dive in, properly to get the details out of that. But if he's saying there's some economic mechanism that caused this to happen with VHS, I'm not sure I'm understanding that. So, well, that was his point there. And also Kai says, yo, Brotato music, just the same licensing source, had to shout this one out. Nice. Okay. Let's continue.
And on one hand, it's like, well, things aren't the same. People don't go to the movies. People sign up for streamers. And well, then how do you, it's funny how that, not to get into these issues, because I'm a member of every guild there is, including the Producers Guild. So I've had to work within the confines of all of the restrictions and all the stuff that can get in the way of making the movie and telling the story that you want to.
But I mean, do you have a dog in this fight? I mean, do you support this fight?
Now, I'm really annoyed that the interviewer interrupts this thought. And if you don't know much about, I have really odd random knowledge about really random things, and if you get to know me for long enough, you know that I have the most wild breadth of random knowledge. But one of the things I do know a lot about is interviewing and also subsequently interrogating, basically. It's kind of two sides of the same coin. An interview is just a non-forced interrogation. The person can walk out, right? The issue I have with the interviewer just jumping in here is he was about to just go on this beautiful thought about him being a producer instead of being an actor in certain situations and giving his thoughts as the producer. That's when you shut up and you just let him drone on and on about that. And if it ends up being not that interesting, you cut it out in the edit when it comes to a, video interview. Instead, he interrupts the thought and then re-asks the question that gets at the same thought. But now he's thinking not as Tom Hanks, the producer. Now he's thinking as Tom Hanks answering a question. Do you get what I mean? Like, you changed his like internal psychology because he was deep into answering these questions with honesty. Very annoyed when I see like interviewers talk too much. That's like the biggest mistake interviewers make, is opening their mouth almost ever. You kind of want to let the person just drone on and on. But let's continue.
Where do you speak up?
There's no question that this has to be figured out now. Strikes used to happen because a new
So
thing
now he
was
changes the
coming
subject to the history of strikes, when we were just going to get a great answer about Tom Hanks as the producer, who was going to tell us, as a producer, what do these strikes mean. Very irritated by that, but that's okay.
Hike that was going to have to be, and the contracts come up at a certain time. So, well, let's renegotiate. And you could always say, everybody could say with some degree of truthfulness, well, we're not sure actually how this is going to pan out. That's the way it was in 1980 when I was doing Bosom Buddies, and there was an actor's strike. 81 when I was doing Bosom Buddies, and there was a writer's strike. I don't think that's the case right now. The economic picture is, I think, relatively obvious of where it is. And you have streaming services that everybody wants, some program that is on there. And without there being the rightful recompense for things that work and are popular, as well as the aspects of exclusivity, like if you write or work or direct on something on one streaming service, anything you would do on another streaming service would be in competition, so therefore there's an anti-competition clause, which means you can't take...
Okay. Very interesting thoughts in here, and one that I want to completely disagree with him on, because here's what he says, basically. He says that streaming services are extremely desired because they provide a service that people want, and therefore the whole industry is economically forced to take that path. This is wrong. Entirely wrong. I'm sure if I were to talk through the numbers with him and be like, okay, well, I mean, you're saying that, but the theater dominates the money market still. In 2023, theaters make 10x on a movie than a streaming service ever will. That's 10x. That's a huge difference. That means that I can't, it's not nearly as financially beneficial to me for me to take my movie and only put it on Netflix versus take my movie, because even if I expect to double my audience because of the exclusivity of Netflix, right? The profit potential immediately from putting in the theater was 10 times the amount of the profit potential of the streamer, right? So that's obvious. He knows these numbers for sure already too, right? Like he's obviously going to advocate that any movie that he makes be seen in the theater if at all possible, you know, unless the money is tied to a Netflix contract and that's the only way he could make the movie. He would want as much as possible for the movie to be shown in theater just for money purposes, right? So it's not that the economics of the whole relationship force everything to streaming. It's that the industry makers themselves, the gatekeepers, are forcing the consumer into streaming. It's the other way around. It's not that... It's like... Here, let me give you an example. It's like if I created a ball, right, that costs $1, but if I just trade that ball, I'll get $10 out of it, right? And you say, what company would sell you a ball for $1 that yields a $10 when you resell it, right? Oh, my camera died. I'll fix that in a moment. Yeah, classic. Who would do that, right? Well, if you can borrow $9, the difference, the $9, right, to make up for your loss. In fact, if you could borrow $9.50, you know, off of the fact that you sold $1 of goods to your audience, you've now made it possible for you to sell a $1 object or a $10 object for $1 and force everybody in the industry to care about your platform because you are taking up market share elsewhere. The prime example is Disney. Disney owns almost half to 3/4 of the theater slots at any given time. Like if you go to the theater right now and you just like look up at the list of films, right, being played, like 3/4 of them are owned by Disney at this point. Still not in a monopoly apparently, according to the courts. Well, that's a rant for another day. But what they do is they say, okay, great, we're going to make the next Star Wars and we're going to put it in theaters, but that's going to be an advertisement for Disney Plus. Star Wars episode, 10 billion is not a thing in of itself for you to watch and like. Star Wars episode 10 billion is actually just an advertisement for you to go on Disney Plus to watch The Mandalorian. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're saying we're going to use our 3/4 of the space to force out any reason anyone would want to come to the theater by filling it with crap, you know, that people end up not liking, you know, and end up not liking theaters as a result. They like project their hate of Disney onto the hate of the theater chains. Unfortunately, that's what happens, right? And they just say, what's the point of me going to the theater anyway when 3/4 of it is crap? And actually the remaining quarter that's not owned by Disney is also crap. Because, you know, the remaining quarter is owned by, like, the other two monopolies, right? So, you know, they just stop going to the theater because Disney owns the whole pipeline. And they want to transfer people to Disney Plus. Then you might ask yourself, why would they want to transfer to Disney Plus that's less profitable? It's because these CEOs, these executives, are absolutely convinced that somehow they can make that $1 actually only cost $1. Somehow. Like that $1 object actually be $1. Somehow they will eventually get there. For Netflix, the argument has always been algorithms. We'll just algorithmically decide what to make, and they'll bring so many more viewers to our platform that'll offset the cost of creating the media to begin with. This is idiotic if you have any experience in film, because film is just expensive. There's like no way to like slice the coin. Like, how are we going to somehow 10x your audience on a film just by being on Netflix where you pay $15 a month for everything on there? It makes no sense at all. If you're Disney, you say, look, we have IPs, and our IPs will somehow make everything $1. It doesn't make any sense at all.
No, no like subscription service, whether it's in movies, music, or video games, they've ever been able to accomplish this?
No, there's nobody who's been able to accomplish this properly. This freemium model, if freemium in the case of like Spotify, it's even worse in music because you have that freemium model going on. But in streaming services, at least you have some there's a gate, at a minimum pay, right? In most cases, unless you're counting YouTube. But they have some level of control over the whole pipeline, the whole market, that allows them to force the viewer who didn't necessarily choose streaming into the streaming pipeline. You may feel as a consumer that this is the smartest choice that you had, is to put all your dollars into streaming and never go to a theater again. But that economic feeling was brought about by the debt, that company could use to take L's on their cinema line in order to force you into their streaming line. That's why movies in theaters suck. A lot of people don't this is gonna sound like some abstract concept, but this is just the simplicity. This is the simple truth about the way that cinema has been going for a long time now. Make disposable movies so that you can force people to watch your disposable shows. That's how it's been going. So I disagree with him when it comes to the economics obviously pointing people that way, because it's not the economics that allow these companies to acquire debt. It's our broken, very broken monetary system entirely, because the debt is backstopped at the end of the day by the Fed, by the Treasury, which means by you, the taxpayer, by the government, which gets funded by you, the taxpayer, or the government backstops their own debt by borrowing from other governments, right? So what ends up effectively happening here is what I'm saying, is that Disney controls what's in the theater, controls what's on their streaming platform, can infinitely borrow debt to cover losses on all these ventures, and they borrow that debt from someone like JP Morgan. JP Morgan cannot fail because it's a literally systemically important bank. Look up that term if you want to. It means it has special legal protection and is literally too big to fail by law. By law. Which means that JP Morgan can issue infinite debt at Disney's direction, and they'll justify it to you by saying that if we don't give Disney infinite debt, how many jobs will be lost? That's how they'll turn the argument right back around at you. Yeah, go ahead.
You said JP Morgan?
Yeah, that was just an example. But any of the top 5 or 6, whatever it is, banks that are systemically important.
Are they bigger or smaller than SVB? I have no idea.
Bigger.
I guess
Much
it depends
bigger.
on what metric.
Yeah, they're bigger in all ways.
In terms of
SVB was on the cusp.
Like outstanding loans, for example?
Yeah, pretty much everything. So outstanding loans, assets on hand, assets in savings accounts, whatever it is, like whatever metric, they're bigger. But SVB is on the cusp of being in this list. They lobbied to get out of the list a few years ago. But in any case,
They didn't want to be on the... anyways, yeah, I guess
because it means more regulation. It's complicated, yeah.
Okay.
But the whole point I'm trying to make here is that it's precisely not economics that forces people into this path. Because, and you're saying, okay, well, what you're saying is eventually the venture will just fail because you can't actually have an infinite money scheme through debt, right? What happens when a recession, like what's coming up right now, occurs? When the reaper of money comes back to collect all his debts, and your infinite money cycle is going to crash. Well, you're correct. It's a Ponzi scheme, and it will crash. And what happens when it crashes is the company still won't die. That won't happen. And so they'll just move on to the next media. So right now it's movies that they're forcing everyone into this pipeline, but Disney's trying to, own something else. Or a better example would be, what's the movie company trying? Oh, it's Netflix, actually. Netflix is trying to get into gaming like crazy, right? It's trying to create some sort of streaming-based gaming experience, cloud computed something. I don't really know what they keep changing their pitch. But the point I'm trying to make here, though, is that once Netflix has cannibalized all of cinema, killed the art form, and the Ponzi scheme crashes, the whole company is not going to fail. In Netflix's case, that actually might be possible for them to fail, because they're not Disney. But in a lot of scenarios, they won't fail. And they'll just move on to the next debt-driven thing that they'll cannibalize for 10 years. That's a long time, right? You're just siphoning money for 10 years that's just based off of debt. Your literal paycheck is just debt. You know what I mean? Like, and then they'll move on to the next thing. Next thing will be VR. The next thing will be, after that will be XR. The next thing will be whatever the heck else. They'll just keep doing this forever. So, in short, that's...
They didn't go to the metaverse yet.
Yeah, well, Facebook tried. They were just way too early on that one. And, if you check it out...
early and wrong, and
yeah,
a lot of other things.
Completely wrong, too. Yeah, I agree with that. But we predicted everything that would happen with the metaverse, basically, in our 2 metaverse episodes. I think you did one and I did one. And I think we both were spot on. But here we go.
And you cannot create your own work because you've taken something that ends up being there are so many bread and butter, and when I mean that, it's like, look, is it right that somebody can create a series or direct a series or star in a series that is spread out so far and wide that you end up working for a lot less money for something that is actually profitable? That is actually viewed as valuable and profitable for the people who...
So here's and this proves exactly my point. We're saying that streaming is so desired but somehow you end up making less money as an artist. Well, that's the $1 ball, that's the $10 ball that's trying to be a $1 ball when that's literally impossible. That's what that experience is like. You drove everyone to buy these $10 balls for $1. Obviously, you're going to induce demand that way, right? Who's not going to buy the $10 ball for $1? Obviously, you would do that, right? So you induce the demand, but then the company has to trying to make money, they have to somehow figure out a way to shrink one side of the equation and maybe grow the other side. You see what I'm saying? So the way it comes out is out of artists' paychecks. And they have no cojones. They have no these artists, they're so stuck in the Hollywood system. If they would just strike, which is why I'm kind of lenient. I don't know many details about this, but my first reaction was, this probably a good idea. Strike and see what deal you can make, at least to force you to take more slice out of that $10 ball, and maybe that'll force them to reevaluate the whole equation. I doubt it, but maybe.
For the business people that care.
So it has to be worked out.
It does have to be. It has to be worked out, and it has to be worked out in an ecumenical way in which we understand that, guys, we're all in this together. There is a win-win circumstance here that can only come about when everybody is paid their fair share. And what that fair share is, you have to be dispassionate about what it's going to be. And believe me, I'm no expert in what this is. I only know that I'm the same consumer at the end of the day as you are. What works and what is willing to be paid for. And also, let's talk about the contract that goes on between. By contract, I don't mean negotiated contract. I mean the contract that the audience has with the storytellers. All right. There is now a completely different set of rules that goes into how we decide to be entertained and how we decide to pay for what that entertainment is. Because if you and I and everybody else in this room wanted to be entertained for free for the rest of the month, we could be, between YouTube or an app or anything else that is part of the social media. That's free. That means it does not cost us anything. Now, our desire, I think, as an audience is that we want to go off and be challenged by what we see, and so we go off and we'll try to do that. Now, that also has to enter into what all of this fray is.
Yeah. Oh, were you going to say something, Nathan?
I don't know, it was worse technical difficulties or something, but it was gone. Was
were you
meeting
hearing the
there?
buzzing sound?
I heard it on Discord.
Oh, well, that was you being. I think it was you on mute.
Oh man, so it does go through. Yeah, that's horrible.
Okay, well, I was hoping it wasn't happening, but apparently it is.
Well, now I'll know. I can just like unmute mute when it never happens.
Yeah. Okay, but he's saying that audiences want to challenge themselves at the end of the day, and so they'll eventually seek out a better contract between the creator and the consumer. And I also disagree with this. entirely. And maybe it's a more doom and gloom approach, but I think if we delude ourselves into thinking that somehow the audience will have like some sort of like existential crisis and be like, wow, paying $15 a month is like, you know, for this slop, you know, like I'd really much rather spend $100 a month on watching or on getting good slop, you know, from from the movie theater. Like, that's so naive. Like, where else are they gonna there's two problems. Where else are they gonna get the good stuff? Like, I know where to get the good stuff, but where are they gonna, how do they know where to get the good stuff? Like, they can't even go to the theater to get the good stuff. The good stuff's not even there. So that's one big problem. The second problem is he's underestimating habituation. And he's old. By the time he dies, perhaps nothing will collapse in the way that, you know, for young people like us, by the time that we're his age, could 100% happen. You know? Habituation, when people habituate themselves to eat slop, obviously, in many areas of life, they continue to eat slop indefinitely, right? So it's a much more complex problem than just saying, well, eventually people will realize that they're just getting slop from the streaming services. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. You know? Yeah, not good enough. What needs to happen is the economics need to be corrected. I think the underlying problem is that we have monopolies that are dealing with the problem of power, right? They have their economic size is not a measure of their reward. Their economic size is a measure of their power more than their reward for providing a good service, right? And until we start addressing that problem, this is a useless argument. We could, and I do advocate for people to be in the trenches and be indie artists and fight the machine that way. And that's all well and good, and that's what I'm doing too, right? So it's not like that's useless, right? But we have to fight the war on two fronts. We have to know what the problem is and advocate against the abuse while simultaneously trying to provide the better thing and provide the competition if at all possible. You know, there's every inch in this fight matters. We're like literally on the cusp of losing everything when it comes to cinema. And I'm telling you, the next will be gaming, the next will be VR, the next will be whatever else comes after that. It'll just be the next thing. So, you know, you may not particularly care about movies, you may not particularly care about music, but you might care about some other art form that's up and coming. And it's the same danger. It's the same process that will happen to the next thing. So that's my reaction to Tom Hanks there. Pretty long, but, you know, hopefully educational.
Nice. Before I forget, can you unmute yourself on Skype?
Oh, sure.
So I can mute on Discord.
There you go.
Nice, okay.
Yeah, if you're tuning in right now, my camera is dead, so that's why I'm a frozen crazy person.
Partially surprised. Partially surprised expression.
Yeah, okay, here's the last hot take of the night. This one is from Nathan. So, Nathan, if you want to explain.
Oh, yeah.
The last one.
That, by the way. Right, let me pull this up. Yeah, okay, so it's also from r/movies. Actually, all three of these were, huh? This one, it says, what's a good example of an actor with minimal screen time in a movie who stole the show? I don't mean quick cameos. I'm thinking about actors who had smaller roles and chewed up every second they were on screen. The examples that immediately come to my mind are McConaughey in Wolf of Wall Street, Dennis Hopper and Gary Oldman in True Romance, John Turturro in The Big Lebowski, Tom Cruise as, this would be Les Grossman, or is it Le Grossman? I don't know. In Tropic Thunder.
Oh, I haven't seen Tropic Thunder, so I wouldn't know.
And to me, Billy Bob Thornton in Tombstone. So. Okay.
Minimal screen time. Oh, minimal. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't see the minimal screen time part. Let's see what these examples were. So we have McConaughey in Wolf of Wall Street. I would agree with that. Yeah. I mean, I'm actually not a hot take here. I'm really not a fan of Wolf of Wall Street. It's my least favorite of Scorsese's films, like by like a lot. It really irritates me as a movie, and I don't understand its existence. but I know not everyone will agree with that take. But I will say McConaughey does eat his screen time. I will agree with that part. Let's see. Christopher Walken in Pulp Fiction. That makes a lot of sense. I agree with that. Not really much to say there. That's pretty obvious. Haven't seen that. Oh, this game of haven't seen that. Let's see here if there's something I've seen. Oh, Stanley Tucci in whatever movie he's in. He's in The Devil Wears Prada. The Hunger Games. Oh, I remember Stanley Tucci. Okay, I know what you're talking about. I think he's decent. He's good. I don't know that. I don't know. I feel this as strong as you do, but. Oh yeah, Sir Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs. That is a good pick. Very, very good pick. 16 minutes of screen time. But yeah, you see, you would never even it doesn't feel like 16 minutes of screen time. It feels like 45 minutes of screen time because every time he's on screen, it's like he just sucks your attention into that film. Let's see here. Robert Duvall as Lieutenant Kilgore in Apocalypse Now. Yeah, that's a good one. Oh, he only had 5 to 6 minutes of screen time. Would not have guessed that. Let's see here. Is there any that comes to mind, though? Here's a hot take. The woman, I can't remember the actress's name. I will find out in a second. But the love interest of Leonardo DiCaprio in Inception, I think she did a fantastic job. It was very overdramatic, of course, but I feel like she really played into the very small role that she had super well. What's her name? Let's see. Her name is Marion Cotillard. I love the on the nose name that they gave her, which is Mal.
Oh,
it's like okay. Or he says it as Mal, but it's literally spelled Mal, bad. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other stuff. I can't really think off the top of my head. Most characters who don't have much screen time in what's his face? One of my favorite directors. Damn it, brain fart. What's his name? To the Wonder. Why am I blanking on it? Malick, obviously. Okay, there we go. Terrence Malick has a lot of A-list actors randomly only appearing for 8 minutes in his films, just here and there. And they're also not told what their parts are going to be in his films before, they film. They're just told what they're supposed to do. And so the guy who plays Alfred, what's his name? His real life name. You know what I'm talking about?
Alfred
from Batman.
We talking about the Dark Knight Batman?
Yeah.
Michael Caine?
Yeah, Michael Caine, yeah. I'm really bad with actors' names. But
I mean, you're naming people I've never heard of in my life, so I mean, better than me.
Yes, but Kai said Michael Caine as well. Michael Caine, he was supposed to be in, I believe, Song to Song, or I can't remember, but one of the Malick films. He was supposed to be in there for a long time, or at least he thought, because he was filming with him for days and days and days on end, and he was completely cut out of the film. And it's Michael Caine.
Was he at least paid for his time?
Oh, yeah, of course he was paid. But the thing is, when you're working with Terrence Malick, they're low-budget films, by Hollywood standards at least. And so these people are taking huge pay cuts just to work with Terrence Malick because it's kind of one of those bucket list items for these actors, you know? They don't really care about the pay as much as they want to be in a Terrence Malick film, you know? He's just gotten that kind of cachet. That's why he has A-list actors in everything that he does, even if they're limited release films. Or a lot of times limited release. Lately it's been wide release, which has made me happy. So he'll just randomly, he'll tell people that they have like these prominent roles, and then in the editing room they just end up being some side character. But they end up doing a really good job because they're A-list actors, like firing at all cylinders because they think they're going to have all the screen time in the world. So I would say pretty much any side character in Terrence Malick films are fit this category very well. Michael Fassbender in Song to Song, although I guess he has a really prominent role in that film. But yeah, James Earl Jones as Darth Vader in Star Wars. That makes a lot of sense. He's definitely one of the highlights of the acting. Yeah, but that's all I got for that one. If you have any picks yourself, let me know in the chat. Would love to know. And that's Arguing with Reddit for tonight, which means that's our show for tonight. And it's been a fun time. Had some awesome people in the chat, which I really appreciate, especially in Rumble. Got some Rumble chatters out there. Shout out to you guys on Rumble. Really appreciate you guys. And also shout out to our awesome supporters on mixedmedia.locals.com. That's Kai, who's in the chat right now. Salute to Kai. As well as 99 Crime, Rob Sharma, and Post. And they're always all talking on our Discord as well. If you want to join the Discord, it's free. It's a free community. Hit up the link in the description, and you can join the conversation about pretty much anything that you love that's art-related, whether it's gaming, music, or movies. We talk about it all. And I think we're all very passionate about what we do, so it's very like specific, very specific stuff gets posted on there, and you'll definitely learn if you just sit there and want to learn by osmosis. It's a good community. And if you want to see the perks for mixedmedia.locals.com, you just head over to mixedmedia.locals.com. If you're on Rumble, there's a big salmon-colored join button that you can click, and that'll bring you to our page. And I appreciate it. Any one of you can help us out. Any supporter that we get past this point, it will exponentially help us in getting this podcast out to more people, because we're in need of a new growth spurt, essentially. We're in need of the ability to reinvest in ourselves and sort of transform the show a little bit, but more importantly, grease the wheels and get more reach on the stuff that we post. And that kind of costs money, unfortunately. So if you are willing to help, if you have the ability to help, we'd really appreciate it. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and that was Mixed Media.
Thanks for watching.
And see you next week.
Look, tell a man no trouble, I don't want beef, man, I just want vibes. Big man like me, no need for the telephone hype. I got too much getting online. One rule, then dead I'm on site. Wrong move, I bet they gon' ride. No need for the telephone hype, nah. No need for the snoozing. Big whip outside, I'm cruising. Big stick inside, no losing. Better watch out for the snake and Judas is. Don't ask them who this is. I bet they know what I'm moving in. I bet I show it into a dim. How you hate and then lose again? How you hating my vibes? Why you wasting my time? Getting hype on my line. Tell a man I don't want feedback, I just want relax. Brand new whip, two-tone, I need that brand new hit. You know, like lean back, brand new bits I live in. We back, man, you never gon' like us. Get them on sight now, let them on light. That way they know I'm more righteous. Look at my life, I'm living alright. I'm nice, you know I'm alright. Cause looking like Christ, no